It's not on the agenda, but given that today is September 11th and we're an official town meeting, I think it would be the right thing to do, if the committee would permit it, to have just a moment of silence in remembrance of the tragedy that happened September 11th, 2004. Thank you. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes, of which there is none. So we'll move to the review and vote on, it says 2024 capital improvement plan requests. I think it's really capital reserve funding requests that we're approving here, but is that correct, Bart?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah. So Bart, do you want to intro this?
Yes, so I guess last Matt, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different departments requesting funding for this year. Well, I think the best way to go through this is, I'm not sure who's in the audience at the moment, but just go through the new requests that the committee hasn't seen before, and I can show you if the Zoom lets me, what that is this year. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So highlighted in the yellow are the new requests that the committee would be reviewing this year, and that is the sidewalk extension from GP Public Works, Swamp Road Bridge rehabilitation, again from Public Works, police department renovations from the town manager's office, same thing for town hall renovations from the town manager's office, from environmental services, day road force main replacement, from the police department, software data migration upgrade, from the recreation department, a feasibility study, and then from cemeteries, like a maintenance, some funds to help maintain our cemeteries in town. So I think maybe the best way right now is maybe go through those new requests, and then, from there we can, the board has seen it, the committee has seen the other requests before, so they have more questions, and they have the documentation. I think you all had the documentation for a while, so we can go to those requests afterwards. If that sounds like a good game plan, maybe we'll move forward from there, or I'm open to other suggestions.
No, sounds good. I do think that as the department has come up, if there's questions on any of the ongoing work, we certainly can offer those as well.
Yep. So I guess maybe we'll start with, is town manager there, is he coordinator?
He is not.
He's not, okay. So who is there right now? I can't see.
Everyone want to announce themselves?
Yeah.
Cemetery trustees.
Police chief.
Town engineer, DPW.
Environmental Services Director.
Recreation.
Okay, we'll start with the police chief, so we don't keep them up on any further. So, Chief Jordan, do you want to come up?
Yeah. So I certainly can talk to our new requests, but I also can answer any questions on some of the requests that we have. Some of the requests that we have that are ongoing have kind of changed a little bit. But our new request is for a software and data migration, and what that pertains to is currently we have software that runs our information management and our dispatch CAD system, and that company has been bought out, and they're going to dissolve the company within the next 5 years and won't support the current system that we have. So we've been shopping around and looking at different items that would fit our needs, and essentially the one that we found is the company that took over the company we currently have. We found a couple different other ones, but they're not the same product, and this involves a completely new system being installed, and it also involves the current data that we have being migrated to the new system, which for us was one of the reasons that we are hoping to go with this company, because all the other companies couldn't provide that for us, and we would have to go out and seek another company to do it anyway, so it was gonna cost a lot more money. We essentially have put this on. We think that the software that we have is going to be unsupported in 5 years, so we put this kind of on a 4-year plan to pay for it. We have sought other funding sources, so there's a chance that we may get funded from somewhere else. We're just waiting to hear back, and that could take up to a year.
Question?
I just have one initial question. The useful life is indicated as 30 years. That seems ambitious for that kind of equipment. What are you basing that on?
We base that on what we currently have right now, which is we have a company called IMC or TriTech. It's had several different names. We bought that and put it in place in 1995, and here we are in 2023, and it's going to go another 3 to 5 years. So that's about. Now, during that time frame, we've been paying user fees and getting upgrades the whole time, but that's what we're basing that on, is just the history of what we have with the current company.
So, Chief, are you getting what's called a subscription, or are you getting perpetual licenses?
So this is just for the implementation of the initial program, and then the data migration, and then every year we will have to pay a subscription service.
So you are doing this?
Yeah, and
Okay.
I got to tell you, everything has increased, and this is going to increase on that for the subscription service too. So in my budget, I'm going to have to ask for that increase. Currently, we pay about $20,000 a year, and it's going to go up significantly.
Yeah. Thank you.
Which capital reserve fund is it coming out of? Are we going to be funded by it?
Well, we were looking to start a new fund specifically for that.
So there's, in the sheet, it has current capital reserve fund balance, and it has a number that's actually fairly astronomical, so I assumed it was wrong. It looks like it's pretty much in alignment. Is it what, is the dispatch police equipment?
I see.
No, those are the current ones.
So there's 175 that's in there right now, right?
Yeah.
So, let me find it. Current budget. You can see my screen.
Yeah, we have that.
Police and dispatch equipment is 175,466. So I think the decimal point is
Okay.
Right, so for a year or two, there's money there, right?
Yeah. But that also, the next page is the ongoing use of that $175,000.
Right.
Correct?
Yep.
Now, the purchase, or the agreement would be executed now, and then the final purchase would be after those 4 years, or would be in your planning, accumulate the funds first and...
So we're hoping to accumulate the funds, and as I said, there's a chance that we may get some funding from somewhere else, but it would be in the future, potentially 3 to 4 years. So the current system we have is going to go away, but as we talk to these groups, it would take, if we started today, it would take 2 years to just get the whole thing implemented and get all the data migration done. So we're hoping that along the way, that we'll figure out if we have the funding and be able, by the time they get it implemented, to have enough funding to pay for it, if this is ultimately the route that we have to go.
And since the money is going into the currently existing capital reserve fund, if you find other sources of revenue for this, the revenue that's been collected can just be leveraged inside the dispatch capital reserve fund.
Certainly, and an example is we started putting away some money last year for a live scan print, and we worked with the school, and they actually got a grant to purchase the whole thing. So we were putting $5,000 in that, but we dropped dropped it down to 1,500 to hopefully start putting away money to replace it as it, technology and things change. So we were going to try and buy that this year, but where they bought it, we decided to go in a different direction. So.
Other questions?
So if I understand, the second page would be the projection of what you need out of the existing capital reserve fund, 30 grand a year roughly kind of thing, right?
I'm sorry, which second page?
No, that's I think, proposed funding. So I think to get to like how much they need a year, you have to look at, it's variable, right? You look at what's they're replacing and then what the value is of the replaced item. Like in the dispatch one?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we're talking about a cost and then by year, what we're putting away to replace it. And you may see in different years, we have to replace the item.
Oh, I see that. Okay, I'm sorry, thanks.
Yeah, I actually wanted to comment on that, because it's the first time that I'm doing this, and I found this nice and easy to understand, so I appreciate that.
Okay, well, thank Bart, he helped me a lot with this, so, getting that squared away, so.
I see where you were going though. I shouldn't map myself up.
Well, so it's $190,000, but, over the course of numbers of years. I'm trying to understand how adequate the 175 is.
Yep.
That's there right now. Does that get you 5 more years?
So if you had to replace everything on this, it's
$440,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
like that.
that's why we're trying to, look at things in different, different years. And we've had a couple of things that worked out well for us. We were supposed to replace our emergency generator, and Buildings and Grounds ended up having some sort of funding that they were able to overhaul the whole thing, so we were able to put that off. As you can see, we have it listed as being replaced now in 2030, but where we just overhauled it, it may get longer than that. We may get the usefulness. So, yeah, I mean, if we had to replace everything at once, we'd be in a tough spot. But hopefully, we're trying to,
Yeah.
figure out, project years in the future what we're going to be needing.
The two-station dispatch console is the big one.
Right.
The big ticket item.
It is. So that's something that, when we're talking about the new building, so this came up in discussions about the new building. So we've been kind of putting that off, and the company that we use, 2-Way Communications, has been like saying, yeah, we planned for this, but it's still running pretty good, so we're in a good spot, you can put it off. Now, as you put things off, things go up in price. But when we talked to the people about the new building and talked about moving the dispatch center and potentially replacing some of the stuff, they thought that there could be an overall cost savings if we replaced and did that kind of at the same time, as opposed to moving it and then replacing it. It was going to basically double the price. So that, and keep in mind that $250,000 is for one of the 2 consoles. So those are, one of them was more recently replaced, but they both have been doing okay for us. But we are on an extended life use on one of them. So
How often do they replace?
usually like every 20 years. So
really?
we've replaced them with some equipment, so it's not all 20 years old, but
Yeah.
overall some of the things are getting dated.
Other questions?
So is there a rationale to why you'd want to do a new capital reserve fund just for this versus incorporate that into everything else?
For the software upgrade?
Yeah.
Because the time is, one, the price tag is so big, and number 2, the time is of the essence. Like, we have to plan, we have to know, because if we can't get this funded, we're going to have to figure out a different way to go.
So it's not, but it's a new capital expense that is requiring additional allocation to the dispatch and equipment capital reserve fund, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I misunderstood. I thought we were trying to create a general. All right.
Any other questions for Chief on the dispatch and equipment capital reserve fund? Your other ones are, anything else to talk about the current ones you have, Chief?
I think I just talked about some of them. As far as the emergency generator at the station, we were able to retrofit and do some tune-up on it, so we're able to kind of put that off a little bit. Same thing with both of the dispatch AC units. There was some money left over this year, and we were able to replace both of those. We were going to replace them this year anyway out of this, but we were able to put that off a little bit. And again, the live scan print, the school worked with us, and we now have that machine. So now we're just putting off for the future to replace it down the road.
So are you proposing, there's a couple of the police ones in here, Bart, and one has building expansion services, and then like the rest is, can't read, and it's $5,000 annually going into that. Is that something we're proposing, or is that old?
Where are you?
That,
This sheet.
This one here.
Oh, my gosh.
I think in anticipation of the new building, so
Yeah.
we were putting away money we started last year,
Yeah.
and that amount was $5,000, with the idea of putting money aside to look at a building expansion. That has occurred. So my understanding is there would not be a reason to keep that,
Keep funding that, because it
Keep
would go
funding
into
that.
like the facilities.
to go into the facility
Is
thing.
that correct, Bart?
Yes, that's my understanding as well.
Is that, so that's why there's a difference between
These are
the,
new direction accounts looking to pursue to, upgrade those.
okay,
So that's the difference between these two.
the difference between these two sheets,
Yeah.
because we have the old sheet that has basically asking this year for 34,220, and then a 29,220 in the new sheet. The 29,220 is the actual request, plus the
Plus the
55 for the software
Right.
migration.
Okay, yeah, there's the ones that are highlighted in yellow, like right here.
Yeah, those are going away.
Those are going away, right.
That arrives at the 29.
Yeah, because vehicles are no longer utilized, the capital reserve funds no longer utilized to do vehicles, and then building expansion service, as Chief George just mentioned, the town's looking to, pursue that at a different angle.
So Bart, because these are all going into the same capital reserve fund, do we have to vote on them separately, the 55 and change and the 29 and change? Or do we vote them as a single proposed recommendation?
Yeah, so each one we have to go through, well, there's two ways to do it. So the first one, the new request, you would do that separately. And then for the equipment, if you wanted to, you can itemize it and go through each one, and which maybe you want to do, and then vote for that way. So it's two different accounts too. Oh no, same account.
It's the same account.
It's dispatch, so.
And so ultimately, we would vote for whatever, 29, 77 and change to go into the dispatch and equipment acquisition and replacement capital reserve fund?
That's right, yes, they had to give it designation as well. So first, to have that discussion, do you think it's a priority? It's what Chief Jordan says. He says an urgent request, and then, you make a designation right here. And after that designation, you would, have a discussion on, well, is this an appropriate amount, which being requested this year? And you can also make change to the forecast as well, if you wanted to. And then if everything's copacetic and you feel fine with how it's being presented, you can then take a vote to fund the requests for this year. So it wouldn't be for the total of $223,000, but it's for this year's request for $55,906 to be funded into the capital reserve fund.
But the total amount that's going into the same capital reserve fund is, and I have to do the math.
55 and 29.
That's correct. But again, you may want to go each item, or you can bunch them if you wanted to. Like because these requests, besides these two right here, which you can take out, it's all the same as last year, I believe,
Yep.
for the most part. So,
It sounds to me like the first vote we would be taking is essentially to approve the request for this project for this year and to add it to the fund, and then just confirm or affirm the prior existing budget.
So, I mean, we can do two votes if we want to do two votes.
It's two votes.
Okay. So I'll accept a motion on the software and data migration upgrade project to be funded at a 55,906 level.
hey, can you give a designation to in that motion,
Oh.
please, Phil?
I'll take a motion, and whoever makes the motion can designate the level.
Designate the level meaning,
The urgent, compulsory, necessary, or desirable.
yeah, right. I mean, I'll make the motion to fund the software data migration upgrade. The project is 223, it's estimated to be 223,625. We're voting on the first year, which would be 55,906. It's clearly urgent, so I would think that's what we'd want.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. So here's where the motion gets weird, because I'm now going to ask for a motion to fund the same capital reserve fund for $29,220.
But there's nothing new about this.
Yeah.
This would have been the same as the prior year, right?
Yeah.
So I'll accept a motion to fund the remaining police dispatch equipment acquisition replacement schedule fund items at a funding level of $29,220. And do you have a designation to it, Bart?
For equipment, no, I don't think you need to.
So moved.
Just say, or just if you want to just give it designate urgent, I think, because, or, hold on a second. I say necessary.
Necessary, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
Was that a motion?
Yes.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Congrats again. Who we got next, Bart?
Okay, is Sean there?
It is.
Okay. You want to step up?
Half of this packet is Sean's.
I know.
So this
So I
is
think,
water and sewer, right?
Mr. Gray has one new request this year, when we get to it. This is at the Bay Road, and, to fix that issue.
Is this under water or sewer?
Well, he's got water and sewer. Which
Yeah,
would you like
for
to start
21.
with?
So he's on sewer, he's on the Bay Road force main,
Okay.
that,
Yeah, of course, I'm trying to find it, hold on, there we go. Got it. Okay,
So
there we
Bay
go.
Road force main replacement.
yes, so if everyone doesn't know, the force main broke in May of this year. It was put in 1969. It cost us $250,000 to repair it. It's in very poor condition. It could last, a couple weeks, it could last a month, it could last, a couple years. But it's in the town's best interest to get a design done. We are in the process of looking to move forward on an alternative analysis to see where the new main could go. But we definitely need to design this, and this money is going in there for that, for that force main.
So this 300,000 is really the design and engineering
It's,
piece of it?
it's the engineering piece only. So the best part of trying to get this done early is it opens the door for me to be able to go get funding. Plus, if the design is done and it breaks, we can proceed with putting it into it.
Is this going to an existing capital reserve fund?
Yes, it's going into the sewer capital reserve fund.
And how much outside of this are you spending out of the sewer capital reserve fund next year?
In the current year we're in, we're looking to do several projects. We're looking to do the secondary weirs for the clarifiers. We are looking to put in a storage garage. We're looking to, there's a bunch of stuff we're looking to. We're also looking at the Creighton Street pumping station because the pumps there are in dire need, and if we lose the Creighton Street pump station, there's no way to get the wastewater to the wastewater facility. It just goes straight to the river.
So this 454 is the request, if I understand it?
Sewer capital reserve is requesting 454. Is this 300 on top of the 454?
Yes,
Oh, it is.
yes,
So it's 754.
yes, yes,
This 454 is last, 23, 24. We're in 23, 24 right now.
yeah,
It's for 24, 25.
yeah.
So we don't know what that number is.
Well, I was thinking more of expenditures, right? Here's what I'm getting at. That like, if we knew how much you were expending out of the 1.4 you have in there now, is there a way to take that 300 and spread it over a couple years? Even though you're going to spend it all this year, the collection from the ratepayers, spread that out a little bit.
I will tell you right now, my budget's set so there's no rate increase for sewer.
Even with this?
Yep, because there's money in the fund balance to move over for this.
So this all comes from enterprise.
Yeah, it's all enterprise.
Yep.
So there's no impact.
Yeah. Other questions?
No, I don't have a question about this at all. I think this is about as,
So in other words, we were able to boost our revenues through septage, which allowed me not to increase rates, which we only went up 10 cents this year, and the year before we did not go up at all.
So just to clarify, you have enough money from, in the enterprise fund to move over to fund all this, so there's no request for increased capital
There
reserve?
is a request for increase.
Yeah. So in other words, my,
But the money's coming from the enterprise fund?
correct, the money's coming from the enterprise fund.
This 300,000, as well as this capital reserve is coming from the enterprise fund?
Yes.
So there's no impact to the ratepayer?
No, there is not. Next year, we're looking to drop the request back down to 454.
Is
Correct.
there, does it make sense, like, knowing that this has to get fixed and that it costs money, to like for out years have money added, or this year to prepare for the great, like, the Bay Road main is gonna be expensive, right, to fix? And I know you're looking for
Correct.
alternative sources, but if we had to fund some of it internally, does it make sense to allocate, to begin saving money for the project?
right.
I actually see that, but I'd actually want to look and see where our revenues or expenses are next year before I would commit to that.
And you think you have enough time for that, even as critical as it seems to be?
I would definitely, if it came an emergency, the town council could go to fund balance or to go to other areas to get that because it's the enterprise fund. So I really don't want to commit to anything on additional monies until we see what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm pretty conservative.
Other questions? Do we want to vote on this one now before we go to the rest of his?
I think you should.
I think you have to, yeah.
I'll accept a motion to fund the sewer capital reserve in the amount of an additional $300,000 in support of the Bay Road force main replacement.
Yeah, so I'll make that motion, and the understanding is that these funds are coming from the enterprise
Yep.
excess or
Yep.
adequate funds, so that, and obviously it's urgent.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So, I know there's some new members on here. So Sean, if you wouldn't mind, Do you want to go through, how about this way, if there's any other questions about Sean's request, either from sewer or water? If not, then maybe just a brief overview, Sean, for each page, if you wouldn't mind.
Sean, I wonder if it's be helpful, just, I know you have a large master plan, not the master
Right.
plan, the master plan for like the maintenance of like the sewer and water systems. I wonder if you could just give us like a brief overview
So-
of your approach.
If I may, if I go through, there's like, 1, 2, 3, there's 5 sheets, which is the Creighton Street Pumping Station, the maintenance building, the dewatering building, the control building, the site various. That's all equipment. And how that all works is, when we replaced this all several years ago, we created an asset management plan, and that was necessary through the rural development. And it also allows us to show that we have a plan, which allows us to get more grants. And it really puts aside, and if you actually look at the total amount of equipment that's in those areas, it's about $4.2 million. And we're putting about 4% aside of that equipment. So each piece of that equipment was given a life, and we put a little bit away. Some equipment's gonna last longer, and we're not gonna have to replace it as fast. Some equipment's gonna go a little sooner, and we gotta replace it. But it's all done on the averages and what the expected life is. So that's all the equipment piece. We have continued to put money aside for vehicles because if we get like a $30,000, it actually, because we're an enterprise fund and we're only one budget, if we don't do it that way, we'd have to do our rates. It would be like a yo-yo across, and it would really affect our rates. Because if you really look at it on the sewer side, $30,000 means I need 20 cents on the rate. So by doing it this way, the rate users actually get a more steady rate. The last two pieces, the last piece actually is pump station improvements, which is, we have not done any, actually if you look at the Bay Road pump station, that's a 1983 station that hasn't had anything done to it. Salmon Street is 1995. The Wadley Falls were put in 2006. They need work, and we try and put money aside and try and get to start to replace those. The sewer department's actually looking to do a master plan coming up because we were able to acquire $100,000 in grant monies to look at the sewer system. We actually pulled $40,000 out of capital reserve to do a total look at that. Now we got all the data of all the pipe work and the network system, and now we're looking to put in a master plan, which will probably could change how I'm coming back to you guys based on how that plan comes out.
Excuse me,
so
Sean, just a quick question. Is we're talking about a lot of parts, right?
There's a lot of
that can be-
parts, yes.
Can you talk to me about how you're preparing for supply chain issues?
And that's where the importance of putting in the new storage garage for the water and sewer department.
Yeah.
Because if you actually look at the water department, all we have is wells. There's no building for the water department to store anything, and we have a lot of parts and pieces. We are working on making sure we standardize so that we get the same equipment, like equipment. We're looking at areas where we can, if something happens, we can take it from another area and replace it. We're trying to identify key pieces. That's what's going on for us on supply chain issues.
Good, thank you. Sorry to interrupt, I just wanted
No,
to ask.
it's fine. It's a great question.
So this totals more like 6.6 million everything. Does that make sense?
6.6 million for,
If you add up all of these, project costs,
it could be, I just did the equipment part is 4.2, so you could be adding on,
I'm at the pumping station, it's like 2.4, right?
yes, the pumping station, correct.
Yeah.
That's just for the designs, just for the engineering, I believe. No, the engineering, you're right, 2.5, and then it's 10% of that for the engineering, correct.
Right.
So Sean, you were looking for $456,098.04 this year? Is that correct? Or is that's last year's? What is this year's
It
request?
was, It would be 448, 189.
So similar.
448, 189.
Yep.
So that's really the other vote.
That's the other vote. Any other questions for Sean on the sewer? I would accept a motion to appropriate for, and this come from enterprise, or is this
It's the sewer capital reserve fund.
$448,189? Is there any change to that, or no?
No.
No? Flat, to the sewer capital reserve fund.
What was the total?
$448,189.
Designation of, was necessary?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm wrote.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm going in and out.
Are we doing it as in?
Necessary, with designation of necessary.
Make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
Who made that?
Want to talk water?
Sure. So water's a little bit simpler. We've had to dial it back because we just spent a large amount of money on capital improvements. We added the Tucker well. We upgraded the Sewell well. We constructed the new treatment facility to remove arsenic and manganese from the McIntosh and Tucker wells. We put in a new water main on South Main Street, Bay Road, and extended the water main out to Moody Point. We also put a new water main on New Road. So a lot of activity has happened for the water department over the last 2 years, 3 years. In my fund here, again, we do the trucks the same way. We've added on again and started putting money aside for equipment for the water treatment facility, the McIntosh well, the Tucker well, and the Sewell well. The same way we're doing it on the sewer side, of course, because we went through rural development and through SRF for their additional funding. The only other thing is that we're putting money aside for the water tower. To speak to the water tower, our current water tower, I believe, was put in 1977 or 1978. It's a 750,000 gallon water tower. It does need work. It's our only water tower. We can't take it offline to do any work to it. And also it's inadequate for the size of the town. Right now, you want 3 to 5 days of storage capacity. Right now, we're probably about 1.9 days of storage capacity in that water tower. So we need to start putting money aside, and right now we have 300,000 set aside in the account for that, and I'm asking for just to keep putting 100,000 aside. It's probably going to be about $2 million to put in a new water tower.
So does that map back to what we have for the master plan regarding the water tank and the thought process?
So
But it should be, though?
I just don't, that master plan, I'm not sure if it,
So I am actually working on setting up someone to come in, now that we've done so much work, to look at setting up a new master plan for the water department with all the work that we've done. That is in the capital reserve, and we're working towards doing that, starting that right now.
Right, so, and just for my own notes, and I'm sorry, I should have paid more attention. The norm is 4 to 5 days?
3 to 5 days of
3 to
storage
5,
is
okay.
what the recommended AWA standard is for water
Okay.
towers.
And we're at 1 point something?
We're about 1.9.
1.9, so 2%, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what's the request for this year?
so is it 229, 237, did I do the math right?
I have 227,717.
So is there any reason the water master plan wouldn't be somehow integrated with the town master plan?
I spoke with Bart about this, and for us, it's probably good to work on the water system and then integrate it in with the town water master plan. And we just spoke about that.
As long as they mirror, that makes sense, but if they're not
Yeah.
mirroring, I'm a little
No,
concerned. Okay.
That's what we're looking to do, but I'm such a unique, because I did a water thing back in and it really didn't fit what the water department's trying to do for the town and supply water.
But it does feel to me that, like, when I think about planning and zoning and like what the master plan is going to encourage for development in the town, if like the master plan is going to encourage like a lot of like commercial development, like would that water tower be big enough, like ensuring that there's the infrastructure is going to support what the plan
So,
the town's
so
future
we
is.
did a build-out study for the town,
Okay.
for the water and the sewer. And that's why we built what we did. That's why we added the wells. And it's all based on what our projected growth is and what we're gonna need for commercial, or what could be built. So that's what it's gonna be based on.
So like as the town is looking to now rewrite the master plan,
Yeah.
like making sure that whatever that master plan looks like, the infrastructure that your plan is aligned to is continuing to support what that future looks like. I guess, yeah.
It will be all, yes, absolutely. I see where you're going with it, but
Yeah,
we.
I don't want us to build a water tower, then have a master plan that's encouraging more development, and like, it's too
No,
small.
No,
Like,
no, and that's why we did the build-out study to see what actually could be built. And then that would be easily adaptable if there are some actually changes to zoning and stuff.
Thank you.
But I think if I could, regarding about the coming update, this is the perfect opportunity to integrate all these initiatives and make cross-references as well. So, I think we're at that point, because as we know, some master plan chapters are very outdated and inadequate, and don't match reality right now, what currently Sean's doing, so he took it upon his own initiative in his department to, plan for these things. So now what's really great is now the town is looking to do such a comprehensive update, we can take what Sean has done and have those conversations as well to integrate those plans, and then they can be more harmonious with each other.
Yeah,
We're in a really good place.
it's great. Except for Bay Road.
Or under the river.
I will accept a motion to appropriate $227,717, or to recommend the appropriation, $227,717 to the water capital
As an
as an N designation.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approves 4-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Okay. I guess, maybe have Lindsay Butler, town engineer, come next. Is she still there?
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
here.
Okay. Hey, Lindsay.
Hi, Bart.
I'm gonna try to fix this.
Just.
I noticed. It looks sad.
Well, let me get you, so. Can everyone see this right here? Spreadsheet?
A little larger?
It's small, but
We have it, so,
There we go.
people at home will not be seeing this.
so it's sidewalk and the ash swamp.
So, yeah, so for new requests, so for that sidewalk expansion, it's kind of a resurrection, I would say. Ash Swamp Road Bridge rehabilitation, are the two new ones. And then we also have, a stormwater one, and that's storm asset management, which is under the MS4, capital reserve fund. There's more detail there, so they're kind of like four new requests that, add more light, or two new requests, add more light to existing requests from the past, and then two real new requests, which we have right here. So, Lindsay, I guess we'll maybe start with the Ash Swamp Bridge Road rehabilitation.
Okay, we are not in your spreadsheet, by the way. This is the police department facility.
Is that what that says?
Yeah, we have it here, though.
Okay. So, speaking to the Ash Swamp Bridge rehabilitation, this is the Ash Swamp Bridge over the Piscassic River. It's an existing bridge from the 1960s. It's got a lot of deterioration on both the upstream and downstream side of it. You can kind of see that from the little photo on the request. There's a little bit of rebar that is becoming exposed, and the guardrail is not very securely affixed to the end of the bridge. So this was kind of brought to light because the town of Newmarket received some money from New Hampshire DOT as a bridge payment, part of the SB 401 money that we could use for bridge-related work on town bridges. Ash Swamp Road is one of them, and the other one is Main Street over 152. So we currently have those two bridges, town-owned municipal bridges, and DOT inspects those bridges. So reviewing DOT's reports, we noticed that the bridge deck on Ash Swamp Road is deteriorating, and we went to take a look, and it looks like it's in need of some repair. So we worked with Wright Pierce structural engineers to come out and take a look at it. They did an evaluation of the deck and the abutments, and determined that if we came up with the approach to do rehabilitation on the deck itself, because the abutments are still structurally sound and in fairly good condition. So this will get us another 25 years of useful life out of this bridge, and give us opportunity to do a more comprehensive assessment to see if in the replacement that we're doing in the coming years, if it needs to be upsized significantly, or just replaced in kind, or replaced with different materials or such like that. So for now, we're asking for the $255,000. We'll use more of the DOT bridge payment money. We have some of that left to put towards final design, and then a little bit towards the rehab construction. So we have our request in there for that to be coming from, the $255,000 to be coming from the roadway improvement capital reserve fund for this year, next year.
Questions?
Can't get any of the billions of dollars of infrastructure money that's supposed to fix bridges and roads?
That's part of, from my understanding, that's some of what the SB 401 money was, some of that bill money going into the bridge payments. I'm not sure if that's going to be a continuous payment that gets funneled through New Hampshire DOT, but if it is, we will continue to look for opportunities like this to use it.
So this comes from the roadway improvement capital reserve fund, correct?
Yes, we are looking to use that reserve fund to
Which
cover
we
the balance for the
generally, that's
rehab.
for paving generally is what we use that for, correct, Bart?
Yeah,
That's correct.
That's what
That's how it's been utilized for a while, but it's more expansive than that.
So last year we funded that at $250,000. Are you looking for the $255,000 for this plus
No.
more money to be put away for paving?
my understanding is that the paving has been pulled out of capital reserve and is part of operating budget now,
Oh,
because it's more of an ongoing operating pavement preservation.
but leasing fire trucks is the capital reserve. Okay. Well then, so this really, the remaining balance in there right now is $276,000. Is that correct, Bart?
No, the
26,000.
I think the last year that the capital, last year, CIP committee, town, the general funded for 200 and something. Right now, the current capital reserve is 26,000, isn't it? 891.
So the sheet we have is $276,914.60.
Yeah, so if I go down to, you can see this
That one there, yeah.
Yeah, right there.
as a, yeah, so.
The last one.
Road, can't find it.
It's at the bottom.
Right at the
There we
bottom.
go, right here. So, this year, Public Works used that money that was put into it last year. So starting July, so, that was last year, so this is, yeah, there we go, yeah, so right now, since they're doing paving this year, right now, this is what we have highlighted, 26,914.60
Do we have that sheet?
in the
Yeah,
roadway.
it's right, it says balance 7/1/23.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, so there's no money. Because I would say, yeah.
Does that make sense?
So no,
Right.
7123 was that balance, but then there was the addition of the 250, correct? Which brought us to the 276,914.
Then they spent.
Then you spent 250.
They spent it, yeah, in paving this year.
Okay. I thought we were paving, I thought we were using operations for paving.
For
That's correct, so this switch.
going forward.
Oh, so this year we funded the paving. Last year we funded
Correct.
the paving.
Yes.
Now we're switching it over to operations.
Correct, correct. That's my understanding, is that correct, Lindsay?
That was my understanding, yes.
Well, this seems like a good use of funds, extending the life of the bridge by 25 years. So I would suggest that it's a smart investment that we should support.
Lindsay, quick question. With the change to electric vehicles and the weight of those vehicles, which is much larger than, I think, than a traditional vehicle, does that make any difference to your planning of 25 years and what has to be done to the road, or am I reading too much stuff?
I don't think it will make a difference because a lot of that is projected vehicle transportation, or average daily vehicle
Okay.
loading. So it's based on a pretty high volume. That is a pretty well-used route on Ashwamp Road. So the vehicle loadings that are on that are already fairly high. I can't speak to the difference in the weight of the vehicles, but it's usually based on the average daily traffic as well as truck traffic that's
Okay.
been traveling across that and what is expected in the future. So I
Right,
don't
good.
think it'll impact that 25 years.
Okay, thank you.
What other uses does the roadway improvement capital reserve fund have? What is it authorized to be
Or
used?
will it have in the future now that paving is out of it?
Well, yeah, well, like, so the capital, whatever the warrant said, like, restricts what it can be used for, right? So like, I'm trying to get, what else,
Yeah.
besides paving and bridge maintenance, like what, do we know what the language allows?
That's a good question. We talked about that a month or so
I'm
ago.
gonna see if I can find the warrant right now, hold on a sec. I'm gonna stop sharing right now. Sorry, go ahead, Lindsay.
Yeah, well, 'cause my.
No, I don't want to misquote it. I think it was, in very general terms, it's roadway maintenance and improvement, which is pretty vague and covers a lot of roadway elements.
So
There it is.
what could you foresee using this capital reserve fund for in the future, given the vagueness?
Given the vagueness. I would see potential use for roadway widening if there are areas that need to be widened for parking or sidewalks or bike paths or things like that. I think the sidewalk is separate, has a separate fund, so addition of sidewalks is probably not included in this. Roadway repair that may be needed due to washouts or storm event situations.
I guess my question is, if we did not have to repair this bridge,
Would we fund it?
would we fund anything else into that right now? Would you be here saying, I want to add this much to the roadway improvement fund if the bridge was not an issue right now?
I don't know the answer to that. I would rely on Rick to chime in with more detail on that. Bart, were you able to find the wording?
So we're not
I'm looking for it right now. I had them all
in this capital.
combined into one, and I separated
It's
them
the only
out,
thing I'm asking for.
so, I will have it in
But
2
then I get
minutes.
to there's 20. So like, my question really has two, like, potential components to it. One, like, which I wouldn't say just throw money in it now, but like, if there's other things we're gonna use it for, we should be thinking long-term about putting money away for that. The flip side of that is, if we don't know what we're using it for, by adding in how much we need to spend, we're basically saying we're gonna let 27,000 just sit there, when like, we could add a little bit less, and like draw that down some if we don't have any intention of using it in the future. Those are like the two, like, right, like,
Well, I would, I didn't mean to cut you off.
yeah, that's fine, and I'm just gonna blabber on.
I would imagine that we would need to use that money for other bridge repair. situations, or could put that towards the replacement of this bridge, or potentially towards design or study for that final design and replacement as that goes forward. I'm not sure in terms of like general pedestrian plans, if there's something else that would be in mind for that as well. When I think of roadway, I think more broad than just the literal pavement that we drive on, so.
I think since the master plan is not in existence yet.
Yeah.
It's,
Everything's waiting on the master plan.
yeah.
Come on, Bart.
What are you even doing?
Yeah, I'm getting hassled, I'm trying.
Um,
Trying to get that thing.
Any other questions on this? I will accept a motion to approve, well,
So I guess,
This would be
there
just
are no more
this.
questions, maybe just move on to the next, we can circle back to the capital reserve fund for roadway improvement once I find it. But Lindsay, you want to speak to maybe the sidewalks, kind of segue into that for roads?
I can attempt to speak to that. That is primarily coming from DPW Director Rick Molaski. He briefed me on it a little bit since he couldn't be here. So that request is based on a study of sidewalk infrastructure that was done in 2021. And the results of that study had recommendations for additional sidewalks in areas where there's a lot of pedestrian traffic and a lot of vehicular traffic. So the roads listed are Grant Road, South Main Street, Maple Street, Bennett Way, Hersey Lane, Salmon Street, and Piscassic Street. And the total cost for adding sidewalk to all of those streets was estimated at $931,000, so spread over 10 years, tackling a sidewalk a year in each of those segments, I think is the way Rick laid that out. So with the request for next year being $125,000. And I'm not sure if that was for a new capital reserve fund?
Nope, that's existing.
Okay.
We have one for sidewalks.
Yeah, okay.
Sidewalk development.
Yeah,
no money
there's no money in it.
Oh, so this is.
So,
125,000?
any questions?
Yeah, let's see, the current request, let me look.
The request for this year is 125, right?
Yep.
Right, yep.
So, go back to the master plan. So let me ask a question. So you have South Main Street on here. Like, where would you extend, like, there's sidewalk up to the elementary school, right? How much further would we want sidewalk on South Main?
It was at least up to Grant Street so that it could connect to sidewalk on Grant Street and kind of make that
Like that corner.
corner around where the elementary
And
school
how
is.
long would the sidewalk on Grand Road go?
I don't have the answer to that.
Like, to the Pines, or like, we're talking further?
To the point so that you could connect.
Back
hills,
into the elementary,
Yeah, I think it's more concentrated on the,
the downtown.
right.
But this, so what is this initial, is there a plan for the roads? So South Main would be the first one to be tackled this coming year, is that the idea, or?
I don't know. I don't
Okay.
know if there was a prioritization of them within that plan. I'm sure there was, and I'm sure there was also some strategy on linear feet of sidewalk and kind of laying that out more evenly. But I don't have the plan in front of me, so I can't say for certain.
So, I keep coming back to the master plan, and that like, there's work that's gonna be done, visioning that's gonna be done as to like, where do we want development to happen in the
Yeah.
town? Like, maybe North Main Street, that's not on this list, right? Like, is doing sidewalk work right now, when we are on the cusp of having a master plan, to be like, here's where we wanna develop, like, we should be building sideway out to sidewalk out to Obashan, right? Like, as opposed to places that seem like, right now?
I mean, I'd be more comfortable voting on this if I knew exactly what was gonna happen, when it was gonna happen.
Like
Yeah,
What the actual
which
plan
year,
is.
which street, kind of thing?
Well, I mean, this is very general. I understand there's a study, but it doesn't really
Like, yeah.
I don't know where this
Hersey too,
125
right?
is gonna
Why
get
Hersey-
spent this
Yeah, and why
next year.
Hersey Lane, like, is there a lot of foot traffic on Hersey Lane, or are there a lot of like safety challenges on Hersey?
So, I think there's a lot of development going on
Yeah.
Hersey right now, and there is a sidewalk there that is not in good shape, and I think that may be gonna be replaced. As far as North Main Street, there are sidewalks on both sides that go
They go all the way?
all the way down. So,
Yeah.
when they redid that project a few years
Oh,
ago.
when the water main was, yeah.
But as far as Hersey goes, I think that's where the most development is right now, and I think they're thinking about people walking to school maybe, you know?
Yeah.
Take the road back and forth, and people tend to do that loop, you know, they
Mhm.
can go, I don't know, I didn't hear it on there, but like, there's a sidewalk that goes halfway up that way, there's a lot of people that walk that.
Yeah, Bennett Way's on there, the
Yeah.
extension of Bennett Way up to Hersey.
Yeah, so about
That's
halfway up, it
It
ends,
stops.
and I know a lot of people like to do that full circle.
I also know that Piscassic and Salmon Street have no sidewalk,
Yeah.
and it's a
Which is a ton of foot traffic.
high traffic
People,
area and a ton of foot traffic. And as far as the South Main Street Grant Road, there's a sidewalk that comes out of the elementary school
Right.
on Durrell Drive and
Yeah.
ends at Grant Road.
Big Grant, yeah.
And then there's a sidewalk up to the elementary school on South Main Street.
Yeah.
So what they're trying to do is go around the
Connect
corner
them.
and connect those two.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Wish I knew, what
What the
the money was gonna be spent for, what the sequence was.
Yeah.
What we're gonna do first, what we're gonna do next.
But at this point, you can only approve what you know.
Yeah. And they had it listed as necessary, like, this feels desirable to me, like, desirable to have it, like, but like, is it necessary to have it round? Like, maybe some of these roads are necessary and some aren't, right, for safety reasons. I don't know, maybe Hersey is necessary, is Grant Road, I don't know. How many people are making that turn? Would that information be in study?
The pedestrian use, I believe they did some counts to determine where these high priority areas were. Could maybe be some information that Rick can provide as follow-up answers to these questions.
Yeah, I think it would be nice to know the projected order.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's all evenly spaced. Is that, I mean, does that make sense?
Right.
Or would it make sense to front load some, or, something like that?
Yeah, who knows?
So, and not being aware of the report, it's difficult
It's
to.
hard to vote on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any way we can get the
But in
report?
general, I think we are all supportive of the notion.
Yeah, like in general, certainly want safety, right? Like
Right.
sidewalks are safer. So
Right.
I got littles, I want them walking on sidewalks.
What do we think of the, let's say we had the information. Let's say we knew this is going to support a sidewalk to connect South Main and Grant and, make that loop possible, or begin to make that loop possible. What do we think of the request, the amount in general? Because we don't have any information.
You have
we
no
can't
frame of
really say.
reference to be
Right.
like, yeah.
So I think that speaks to not being able to make a decision.
Yeah. Would it be possible for us to get the report? More information on it?
Okay, again, sorry, broke up.
Would it be possible for us to get more information on this? I know not tonight.
Yes, I will follow up with Rick tomorrow, and I can send an email to the committee.
Thank you.
This is predicated on we can meet before the 15th again, too, so
So maybe
Yeah, have that
delay
discussion.
voting on this,
Yeah.
and not vote it down,
Just not vote on it.
just not vote on it.
So do we want to vote on the
The bridge.
Ashwamp Bridge?
Bridge,
Yeah. accept a motion to fund the roadway improvement, or to recommend funding of the roadway improvement, capital reserve fund by $255,000 in support of Ash Swamp Road Bridge rehabilitation.
Well, it's 315 is what they're asking.
They're asking for 255 because they're saying they're getting 60.
Oh, they get
Right.
60 from other, okay, I get it.
Right?
Mhm.
Right. I'll make that
I
motion.
found for your information, I found the Warren article.
Yeah.
Sorry to jump in, I just want to make sure everyone understands. Yeah, email, okay. Let me zoom, share screen, there we go, share, all right, can you see this?
Yes.
Great. So it says, provision for, quote to planning, engineering, maintenance of town roads and to raise appropriate sum of $125,000. So to me, I think it's general enough where this bridge is clearly a town road. It would fall under that jurisdiction of this capital reserve fund.
I was not questioning the bridge. I was wondering what else we would use it for. So did it make sense to leave that $27,000 sitting there and fund the full 255 this year?
Yeah, that's what it's for. Sorry, I misunderstood. I apologize.
I would also add to that point, guardrail replacement, so areas where guardrail gets squashed and stuff and needs to be replaced, that would also kind of fall under this roadway maintenance.
Nice to have a little buffer there.
There's a motion and a second on the table. Any other discussion?
Did you second it?
Or is there not? There was just a motion on the table.
I
Need a
Yeah,
second.
I'll second it.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed 4-0. We're going to delay talking about voting on sidewalks. Any other updates on DPW from their previous capital?
From Public Works, the only thing they have is their traditional vehicle requests, or anything but new requests, so that's nothing new. The only other two items aren't new, but kind of based on last year's discussion, I think would help add value to these conversations is on the stormwater capital reserve fund request. So it's broken up in two different requests. One is general MS4 general permit compliance, and the other one is a stormwater asset management program. So I think Lindsay is here to kind of elaborate more and just add more information to what this capital reserve fund is utilized for. So I guess maybe we'll start with the asset management program.
Sure, you want me to just kind of overview why we separated
Just
them out?
overview. I'll share the your sheets on my screen.
Okay, so we, the town of Newmarket received grant funding from New Hampshire DES to put towards development of a stormwater asset management program. And the primary driver for something like that is so that we have a much better understanding of what we have for current stormwater infrastructure, what we need to maintain, and what elements of that need to be replaced at this point, because a lot of it's been in place for a while and is in need of repair or upgrades. And it kind of, developing the stormwater asset management program brings us more in line with where environmental services is at in understanding the wastewater and water systems. And DES has been really putting a lot of effort into encouraging communities to get to that point with the stormwater infrastructure as well. So we are proceeding with development of the program over the next year and a half. We're just getting underway. We're actually kicking off next week on that project. And then the hope is to be expanding more on the condition assessment of the stormwater infrastructure, primarily pipe networks, catch basins, manholes. A lot of things kind of fall, culverts all fall under stormwater infrastructure. So with the development of the plan over the next year and a half, we hope to be understanding where the system is at and identifying capital improvement projects for replacement and working with environmental services and DPW highway to kind of overlay all of those plans together and find priority projects, so we're not coming in to repair stormwater just after a sewer was replaced or a road was repaved or things like that. So it kind of gets us to a better planning point.
So one of these is new, there's like a 50 and a 55?
I think the stormwater asset management one is somewhat new, but only in terms of the previous requests for funding in the Stormwater Management Reserve Fund had just been generic MS4 compliance and not a lot of detail to it.
So it's more descriptive in terms of what exactly is
Yes.
going on, right?
Yep, so it's kind of identifying the two different components that really support stormwater management activities, one being the asset management program and the other being MS4 compliance.
And so we have 136,000 in this fund right now?
Yeah, this is like where yes. We have 136,000 in the fund. The asset management is saying the project's gonna be $280,000.
Well, there's two.
And we're allocating it at 280, and then, yeah.
There's 280 and 215.
But if you look at like the requests are 280 and 215.
Right.
To which I would ask, what is the plan for the other 136 that's already sitting there to help finance the 280 and 215?
The intent is that it's gonna be, we don't really have a good handle on what amount we should be spending on the system currently. So development of this plan will give us a better idea, and in the further out years beyond the next two, we'll have a better understanding of the amount of money we should be putting in to replace those assets in a timely manner and have a better understanding of the timeline with all of them.
So it's 280 to author the plan?
The plan is, I don't remember the exact number, 85,000 to develop the plan and get the protocols in place and get an understanding. But then we need to get into the condition assessment, and that's a lot of like TVing the pipes and inspections of manholes, and so that's kind of the next year's request. After this, we're kind of looking to start getting into some of that, but not go full bore. And where we don't really have the full network mapped out currently, we're trying to put some numbers to that's based on engineering experience and understandings of cost per linear foot on average pipe, and hoping to refine those numbers in subsequent year requests.
So chances are our 136 doesn't get you that far.
Yeah, it's less about that, but like it's much like last year, we see requests for, hey, here's what we want to spend, and we need to raise all that money, and what's going to happen to the money that's already in there? How's that being allocated towards it? The work that's being requested, the money's being requested for. I think this like makes a ton of sense. It's just how are we budgeting for it is my question.
Yeah, I think it's more an expectation that some of that is going to be in a way revolving, that we have projects like the Moody Point Stormwater Management Plan, which is a clean water SRF loan. We need to pay that from our Stormwater Capital Reserve and then get reimbursed from DES. So we need to have the money to pay it, and then we'll get the reimbursements. And much of the clean water SRF loan work is done in that fashion. So we need to make sure that we have a reserve to use to get those projects going, and we get it reimbursed as we go. So it's not fully drawn down. We're still keeping a cushion in there.
How much is the Moody Point project?
100,000. And we have a proposal for another in the next year that's a Moonlight Brook study that's at 73,000.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with funding this. Because it sounds like we're going to need the money and we're going to spend more.
Yeah, like I'm good with funding it. It's just I don't know. It feels like we're not sure exactly how much we're supposed to be funding it.
And that's a difficult thing when we don't actually have
they took
the
a gander
inventory
at
in the
it.
plan. It's,
Can I just ask, how did you arrive at the projected, projection out over the next 5-6 years?
for the
Yeah.
stormwater asset
For the
asset
stormwater.
management program, it was primarily based on some discussions with neighboring communities that had already developed a plan and what
Okay.
they kind of started to put into the next few years after they started looking at what they had for capital improvements and identifying roadway reconstruction projects that were in need of replacing really old infrastructure and just kind of outplan like that. So it's not fully tailored to Newmarket yet. The hope is that we'll have that more specific number after we have our own.
So this is, in a sense, a placeholder, and you're expecting
Somewhat.
to refine it, okay?
Yes, we will definitely refine it.
Thank you.
Bart, are we voting on these together or separate?
It would be, or do it together because, well, it depends. You know, if you guys are comfortable, you can do it together, but I think since they're separate requests,
Okay.
just do it separately. Maybe we just, before you vote on this one, just go to the next one and have have Lindsay describe that.
So
MS4?
The MS4 one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that one, again, the further out years are somewhat of a placeholder, and I didn't bother trying to adjust from the $25,000 request that was previously inserted for those. For next year and the year after, I did modify those because the MS4 requirements, particularly for MCM, Minimum Control Measure 3, illicit discharge detection and elimination, we need to conduct our outfall inspections and screening and catchment investigation. So that's a lot of hands-on activity, getting out to each of the outfalls, collecting samples, doing the sample analysis, and then the subsequent dye testing or smoke testing and catchment investigation through all of those networks, and that needs to be completed within the next 2 years. So that's where there will be more heavy lifting, and then it's anticipated after that point, if we find things, which we most likely will, whether it's maintenance that we identify or illicit discharges that need to be removed and modifications that need to be put in, there will be some money to put towards actually doing that work. And then thinking further out, additional MS4 requirements for installing stormwater BMPs to reduce nutrients and whatever, and the hope is that we would have some money in the stormwater capital reserve that could put towards, like for example, if we do the police station expansion and renovation, we can add a new stormwater BMP to treat the stormwater in a better fashion, remove more pollutants, and we would have some money from the reserve to put towards
Explain
additional.
stormwater BMP, I'm sorry.
Best management practice, sorry. It's a structural BMP that is designed to detain or infiltrate the stormwater so that the pollutants can be removed and reduced from the outflow discharge. So things like rain gardens, detention basins, gravel wetlands, porous pavement, all of those are BMPs.
And does the money cover man hours? Is that a contracted activity, all this, what you just described?
A combination. Some of it is the testing equipment and the test kits or the rental of the devices to use for those, the lab analyses for getting that done, and the man hours.
Exciting stuff.
This is both going into one capital reserve fund.
Yeah.
So you would think we could vote on both of these, but.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume together, but it seems with the other ones we've done separate because they're separate projects, so. I'll accept the motion. So, sorry, one more thing with that. So since the MS4 general permit is compliance, why is it listed as necessary, not compulsory?
That's a good question.
I think it's more necessary, compulsory.
Yeah. It probably should be.
Of course, I try if it's a compliance issue.
We don't have a choice, right?
Yes.
Right.
Pick your poison. What do you want to go on first? MS4 or stormwater asset management?
I mean, I'm happy to make a motion to support the stormwater asset management program, $55,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
At an end,
And
Yeah, this one's necessary.
yes. And James, James,
yes.
Yes.
Any discussion? Would love to see more detail to this as soon as we have it, like as to what like the out years are going to be.
It sounds like we'll be spending more.
So I definitely want to see more detail. It's going to be more, right? Like so hesitant to vote for something when there's so many unknowns. But I think this is very
understand.
necessary for the community. It's the unknown factor for me. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
I have one discussion item. Now, the price quote from Wright Pierce is for 85,000. If we allocate 55, we are essentially drawing down the remaining funds to 106. Is that enough of a buffer considering the projection that you have?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
That is a fantastic point.
Was the vote taken?
Say again?
the vote hasn't been taken.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
That, because Moonlight Brook, is Moonlight Brook the next one after Moody?
Moody Point, yes, and Moonlight
Yeah.
Brook would be
And
after.
it's like
At
70K,
73,000, yeah.
which with the 85 coming out would leave like 30 in there, and there's gonna be MS4 expenditures, although we're putting 50 in. Okay, that was helpful for me in my vote, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You turned me into an aye with that one question. Motion passes 4-0.
And so we'll make a motion on MS4
Oh, yes, the MS4,
for $50,000, but we're saying this is compulsory.
yes,
It's like we don't have a choice.
yes. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes 4-0. Vehicles, any questions or updates to the vehicle requests?
So the next one is just DPW equipment.
I'm
We
sorry.
already did the bridge, I believe, at Swamp, so I think that's the last one for engineering DPW.
Right, the CIP equipment request one?
Yep.
And I don't really have
any
much
different?
to speak to that.
I,
Do my best to answer questions.
hold on a sec. The current year funding is completely out of whack with the out year funding. That's
Right.
my question. Which is, I'm trying to see the balance of it.
Well, it's that, well, it's two vehicles that are impacting this year, or next year, rather.
For
Ford pickup.
this year, we got,
Like, why are we fully funding
right, yeah, that I don't know.
in 1 year?
The whole thing.
Antithetical to the purpose of the capital reserve.
Right.
Right.
It's like we forgot.
Yeah, it's like, whoa.
You mean the Ford F-50?
Yeah. Which, like, I'm trying to find the current balance, right? Because you could fund that this year, it's just like,
That's what I'm
spread
looking for.
I mean, you could buy it if there's enough money allocated in it.
And what is there? See, so there's 4 vehicles being replaced this year, or next year, and that's what it's being funded for.
What did we say last year was going to be in year two?
Last year, let me go to it.
No, but in last year, we would have had a projection for the year after what we voted on. Did we anticipate that last year?
I would assume not, because I feel like that would have caught our attention.
Right.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the request last year, I got it right here. last year, we funded 150,000, and it was broken down more. Can you see my screen?
It's too
Yeah.
small for me to read, but.
Yeah.
So I want the 171.
81,
This
bro.
year,
Oh, 81.
So, I guess the question is, how much is planned to be spent this year? We have how much they're looking to budget this year, but like, how much are they planning to spend? Like, I don't see any. I guess here's 24.
Well, one would assume both
So-
of the 45s that were spent.
Yeah, they're both 20. I'll look at the year replacement. There's three 24 vehicles.
Right, there's three of them.
so it looks like what he's just proposing this year is to replace, I don't know, yeah. Let me see how much money there is currently in their
This
capital
sheet says
reserve.
211.
111,000.
Looks like it's more than
That's what
that.
the sheet says, but,
Yeah, 211,000.
so,
So if they're only gonna spend 90,
no, there's another 24 in here. There's a $185,000 trackless MT5 tractor. Is that planned to be, are they planning to replace that part, do you know?
Yeah, let's see, so we have the Ford F-150 pickup, trackless MT5 tractor, two of those, and then a Silverado. Which are the ones basically highlighted FY 24-25 right here.
I
I feel like that was a
And
fair
then he's asked,
explanations.
John Deere loader is asking for money for that too.
Yeah, I mean, the money, like,
Place for a few years. So basically, I think what he's trying to do is just offset some of the costs this year and not ask for anything else from what he's replacing this year.
so now I'm looking down the road, I'm looking at 25, where we have another $185,000 vehicle we're trying to replace, and 26.
And 28, there's another 195,000. Here.
Do we really need to replace a 2015 vehicle that has 42,000 miles on it? I know it's different, right?
That's I was just
But I
circling
know
the
it's
same
different.
thing, yeah.
But I also know it's
but-
different, right? Because they get used differently than your private.
Than the other,
vehicle.
yep. But still, just it's a 15,
It
correct?
just seems weird to me that all of a sudden there's two vehicles thrown in for $90,000 in 1 year, being fully funded in that year to be expended in that year for capital reserve fund.
right, which would mean we didn't plan for those.
Well, it seems, I don't know, but it seems that you'd want to plan for all of these in the coming years and not just for, 4 or 5 vehicles. So it seems like this is a work in progress. At least that's the way I look at it. That's not quite filled in. Because, where are the funds that are being allocated to replace the John Deere loader, which has a replacement, projected replacement year 2027.
Right, it's not here.
So I think it's missing some information, but I feel also that I've had more. I just can't find, is this the final sheet that we have here? Bart?
Yeah, it should be the one in front of me, the one that's on the screen, so.
Okay.
So here's the comparison where we have more is, and not to like
Oh, here.
make Rick and Sean fight, is Sean's, where every vehicle has a little bit allocated
To
for
cover,
each year,
yeah.
for each year, so you know how much you need each year to cover all the vehicles, cash flow wise. Sorry, not Rick's gonna- it
Sorry,
feels
Sean.
like we had that for you know what I mean? And maybe that's in the background here, but it's not the sheet.
Well, that's why we probably have 2 being fully funded in 1 year, because we didn't prior years allocate.
But I think we should use the same methodology for vehicles, right?
Yeah,
Even
just
if it's sewer or if it's
when it was
the
police
highway.
back
And even for the police and fire, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we should be able to see a little bit of money over X amount of years to facilitate the replacement of the vehicles.
Which I would say, like, is the fire in here? I didn't see the fire in here. But like, in,
It's here.
Well, it looks like the sheet that from last year, that Bart had that detail in it.
do you have
For
that
all
one,
the
Bart?
vehicles. It was so briefly on the screen, I'm not sure that I saw it right, but,
Yeah, right there.
it was broken down, or broken out rather.
On the fire, he did the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, the fire also does not have every piece of equipment every year.
Let me see something.
These fire ones are leases though now, right? So it makes the cost.
But I still think the philosophy should be the same for the vehicles.
Especially the purchase ones,
Right, but that, I'm talking about just strictly the purchase ones.
Yeah, this was submitted, so,
Right.
so, do you want more information, from Rick, you know, have him, spread it, like, is there more of a plan to spread it out further in time, each fiscal year? Or just more information in general, just?
I think it's,
It would appear that there's funds in outward years that are missing.
Right. I mean, if you look at this sheet, the funding calls for $150,000 per year to replace those vehicles, and that's just not here at
So
all now.
this sheet just looks incorrect.
the
Right,
trackless MT5 tracker on line 9, which is gonna be replaced next year, not the one we're, like, so 2 years, but next year, is $185,000 and has no money allocated
yeah,
to it,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so unless there was an enormous reserve already sitting there.
which there is not.
Right.
Okay,
Does it make-
so, shall I reach out to Rick then, and, have him,
If,
come up with, again, you know, is a predicate, and we're meeting again, so,
I mean, we can't just vote for something because the meeting schedule is inconvenient.
right,
okay. Nope, that's fine, so, I can reach out to him, tomorrow, and, have him provide more information to the committee.
It, again, I'm not trying to get like Sean crosshairs, but like, if you could use this, the sewer, is it the water or sewer vehicles I'm looking at here? Sewer vehicles as the example, like,
Yep.
yeah.
Well, even
That's
last
all
year-
you did.
And I feel like Rick's done that before, I just don't, that's why it feels odd to me, because I think usually it does look like this.
Right. Last
Take a
year's
look at
does
the fire
like
sheet.
that.
too.
Yeah, like, oh,
The fire sheet's the same.
no, the fire sheet's a little bit differently because those are leases,
Oh.
so we don't have to save the money, we just have to allocate the money because we're paying leases out.
When we get to it, yeah, I mean, the town manager said we were gonna incorporate all those leases into the operating.
Operating, right.
Okay, so we're gonna hold off on DPW equipment then,
Right.
and then we're holding off on sidewalks as well.
Right.
Yes.
This is only one department. Sorry.
Sorry, I didn't have answers.
Okay, we're holding off on sidewalks and, DPW equipment, right?
Yes.
Right.
Okay. So I think that's it from engineering and DPW.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So, thank you, Lindsay.
thanks.
Let's go, let's share, who we got left?
Bracken Cemetery, though.
Chief Jordan, why are you still here?
It's nothing better to do.
Entertained.
I didn't know if I was gonna talk about this building. Okay, fine. So how about we do that? No. Go. You good? You good? Okay, so let's do Amy then. Amy, you there?
I am here.
Okay, let's go to recreation.
Hello.
First off, does anybody have any questions regarding
Are you presenting what I'm going over, or do you want me to, Bart?
You can, Amy.
Okay. I put in for, as opposed to other years, I put in for a feasibility study to be done for the rec department. As you may be aware, the town recently did a feasibility study. They did a tour of all the facilities, but place work, I guess summary was that the recreation should really do their own feasibility study because our needs and our constraints are much different from what was going on in the town. So there was no real information provided in the report other than storage and expansion. There was some things about space. I think there was a bar graph of what we have, but it's come to my attention just through looking, and I've had a conversation with Bart, that the last master plan for recreation was done in 2004. And I hate to say it, but I was there for that. So I started in 1997. So recreation changes, there's trends and things change, but one of the things that was identified in the 2000-2004 master plan was the need for an indoor gymnasium. And when the community center was originally built, there was a phase 1, a phase 2, and a phase 3. And the phase 3 never was completed, and that was an indoor gymnasium for a variety of reasons. Why it hasn't been done since then is a lot of things just kind of took precedent when opportunities arised. One of which was when the ambulance building became vacant and there was a need for senior space. It went into, we used some capital reserve funds and we created a activity center for the active 55 population. So that was identified need of senior space because the old senior center just didn't have the space for what kind of activities they were looking for. And then we did a retrofit for the fields where we added the B1 field, the B2 field, and irrigation, which was a need, so that got pushed forward. And of course, one of the number one identifiers in the original master plan was the need for water activity. It actually said an indoor pool, which that's not going to happen. Then an outdoor pool, but then all of a sudden, splash pads were invented. They weren't invented in 2004, so that immediately became one of my projects, and we completed that in 2019, 20, around the COVID area. I think we opened in 21. That was about 4 or 5 years. So different things kind of pushed our way. And another thing that is interesting in the last master plan, it doesn't identify a need for a skateboard park because we had just built one in 2002. And now we're in 2023 and there's no skateboard park because we had to take it down. So I had been putting in for a skateboard park, I had been putting in for a covering to go over the outdoor basketball court. At the time, we felt like just any type of roof over the basketball court would help us during summer camp. We run a summer camp program of up to 300 children, and the need for indoor space on a rainy day is crucial. The other thing that has happened that wasn't a situation back in when we did the master plan is we took on the after-school program after COVID. So we are now running a very active after-school program, so the community center is busy. It doesn't allow for adult recreation because we're capped out with all type of kids programming, as is the senior center. So one of the things that I had wanted to do and put in for capital reserve a while ago was to take the Beach Street Center and make it into a wellness center for adult programming, the yogas, the thing that is trending and a high demand now. Do I have that as a master plan at that point? Not really, because it wasn't trending back in 2003, but it's trending after COVID hit. Everybody wants these health and wellness programs. So with everything that's going on with the feasibility study, with the police department and the town hall, I kind of threw my hands up in the air and I said, is it an indoor gymnasium? Is it wellness facility? Is it, do we need a playground, which has also been identified because the one at Boyle Field is not inadequate, but it might not be up to code. So there's a number of different things going on in recreation. And as a resident myself, I'm very aware of tax burdens. So the recreation department does have an enterprise fund, and we have quite a bit of money saved up, because overall, when you talk about a skateboard park, a relocated playground, a wellness center, an indoor gym, a dog park, soccer fields, one of the things that really is a priority to us as the rec department is having an indoor gymnasium. With the introduction of pickleball, the demand for year-round adult programming is huge. So if you were looking at the community center, and we know that at one point there was a phase 3, it just never was visualized. It just was a sketch. It was just a preliminary drawing. I think that if we get creative, we could actually create a multi-generational community center, or we expand and have which may happen, the senior center is moving to Beach Street, and we do a number of things, but I think a feasibility study will allow us to see what can and cannot be done. I took aerial views. I have samples of, oh, the gym could go here, the gym could go here, we could get creative and go here, but I'm not an architect, so I really want to see someone who knows what they're doing and can sit down and listen to us. And I know that the master plan is coming up in 3 years, but there's opportunities with grant. There's currently a community center investment program grant that is going out. It went out last January. There was a first round. New Hampshire was giving out $20 million. Several rec departments and other nonprofits received monies in the first round, but we just got word there's a second round. And one of the things that was important in that, and as we looked at it, was having some sort of study or architectural plans in place that they would agree to it. Exeter just received $1 million for their community center as a multi-generational community center. The other things that we looked at when looking at that grant was they needed to know that you were going to service low to moderate income population. Well, seniors are considered a low to moderate income population, so we might be able to qualify for this grant this next round. They haven't said when it's due, but it's a fast-moving grant, so even if we were to have a feasibility study in place and we had, say, yes, we're in the process of putting a resolution together and getting this done, that might bode well for us. And I am familiar with some grants. The splash pad was built half with LWCF grants, and I used the master plan to get that grant. So I do believe that the master plan that I'm looking at right now, I have it on my computer from 2004, one of the top identifiers was an indoor gymnasium, to the point where they had it as a phase 3. So I feel like that is going to continue. I'm not sure about skateboard parks anymore. There was a demand at one point. Is it still a demand? Portsmouth and Dover just built these beautiful ones. They're not like the ones they built 10 years ago. They're concrete, and they cost up to $300K. The one we built behind the community center was $40K. So that's a huge difference. So I want to look at that. And the other thing with the skateboard park behind us, there was a lot of vandalism, some behavior issues. I'm not sure whether that's the best place to put it. After doing a lot of research, it should be in a more visual place if we build one. But I think the feasibility study will allow us to say, you could build this indoor gymnasium, you have room to build this, storage is a major issue. I think just in general, looking at the Beach Street location and the community center location, and trying to come up with a better plan and what we're capable, so when we do the master plan, we have a head start, like, well, we're capable of doing this. versus, you know, everyone saying, yeah, I want that, I want an indoor pool. We were never ready for an indoor pool. So, you know, that's kind of where I'm looking at it.
How long would it take for a study like that to get done?
Bart, you would know more, or I know the feasibility study began sometime in May of last year, is that correct?
Yeah, I think maybe a little later. I think sometime last summer.
Yeah.
I'll say more late summer it began. I knew we had a hard time getting a consultant. We were able to get place work, which Amy used to get an estimate for her feasibility study. And they're actually slightly different from what the town did and what Amy's is proposing. So there's, you know, slight differences in those types of studies. But the town did use that feasibility study to assess its assets, and out of that, you know, assessment came, you know, 2 new requests for this year. So I think this is a really smart way to move forward. And again, like with all of our requests, we're kind of at a crossroad right now. I would say more of a, you know, kind of reassessment from a master plan standpoint. But I think we're just going to be able to integrate all of these disparate elements that have been, you know, sitting there in the past or kind of evolving on their own, and then integrate them in one spot through the master plan document. And from there, different studies, different documents, you know, that each department will have as well. But being reinforced by the general master plan of the town. So, you know, kind of a long-winded way of saying that, but last summer, the town hired a place worker.
Yeah. One of the things that when I was speaking to Josh at Placework, when I asked him how much, because they had already looked at our facilities, he was able to give me an estimate of what he thought needed to be done. And, you know, where that indoor gymnasium goes, whether it's attached to the community center, whether it's a separate unit and it's running on its own, those are the kind of questions that we want answered. And also, they'll be able to provide us with cost estimates that allow us to know how much money we need to save, and just in general, be able to say what's the best plan for moving forward. On a funny note, I did ask the skateboard park kids, because they always ask me, when are you going to build another skateboard park? And we do have some ideas, but not in that same location. And then I said, well, I'm thinking of building an indoor gymnasium instead. And they all were like, yeah! So I know they're on our side, because they're playing basketball all day long. And we have pickleball players and basketball players. And we only have the one public court in Newmarket. And one other thing to note is a lot of people don't realize that Newmarket schools, we only have 2 indoor gymnasiums, and most towns have 3 gymnasiums because there's a middle school gymnasium. But they're still running the same amount of sports out of one gymnasium at the junior and senior high. So us getting time in that gymnasium is next to nil. We're like, you can play at this time. You know, we worked at the elementary school gym, and we're always at the, you know, whether or not the superintendent is agreeable for us to be able to use it. For a couple of years, we weren't allowed to use the gym at all. So just having that facility, I know Kittery attached a gymnasium to their rec center, and in just 1 year, they made $10,000 in pickleball. So I see this indoor gymnasium as a revenue generator, and that more revenue generation that we can do, we can then forward those capital and recreational pieces that don't generate revenue, like a public park and so.
So just to recap, the intent is for a feasibility study to be conducted to look at the overall needs for the recreation department and the existing assets and how they could be, you know, built out, reutilized, changed, taken away, rebuilt, that kind of thing. So we have a way to integrate or use that information to integrate it into our master plan and
exactly,
be more
like
mindful.
just
Yeah.
land acquisition. You know, I know we need soccer fields, but where am I going to put them? I know that people have asked about a dog park.
Yeah.
It was originally said to be down by Shanda Park against the water, and I'm like, that won't go environmentally anymore, so I literally read that, and I said, next to the water, that's not gonna fly. So locations, I'm hoping that they can identify land acquisition areas, and then we can prioritize it with the master plan, those other goals, but I think the need for an indoor facility is pretty prominent as it was in 2004.
So do you have a proposal to do this study from somebody?
No, not yet. This just all came very quickly. I thought when the town's feasibility study came out, which was sometime in July, that it would include recreation.
Right.
And I think from what I understand, Bart, it was just another, it was too much. It was,
Yeah, right. They decided that, again, since recreation's needs are different from what the original intent of the feasibility study for the town originally created or contracted place for it, they decided to separate it. So recreation now would need its own feasibility study because it's just different than what the intent was of the original studies purpose.
Goes beyond buildings.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's more nuanced.
So, I get that master plan is years down the road, and it does feel like, much like the infrastructure we talked about, water and roads, that the master plan as a visioning for the community would be an important input to this work, but given the timeline challenges, like, would there be a way in this study to find a way to gather community input and community voice?
well, I do know that there, okay, go ahead, Bart.
I can say that. So, based on my conversation with Amy, the timeline that Amy has for this project, I think it's going to align with that visioning process for the master plan and also the recreation chapter. So really, we can definitely utilize that feedback through that process and integrate it into a feasibility study.
I do know there was a community, or the citizen survey that was done. Did we get any results on that, Bart?
I haven't seen that yet, but I'm sure it'll be provided shortly. Again, though, I think these are going to run in parallel with each other, the master plan update process and this feasibility study. So again, information can be used in order to fully develop the feasibility study, or at least be able to target, I would say refine the study's aspect or its goals, its objectives.
So, would the study also incorporate, like, the fields?
Well, I'm hoping, I
And,
guess.
like, maintenance of the fields, too, right? Like,
Yeah, well,
like, I know drainage is an issue, right? Like,
drainage is an issue. I mean, and again, those fields were retrofitted in 2011 and to fix all of that. So Karen would be the better person to talk about the maintenance on those fields. But my hope is in sitting down with after doing an RFP and getting, whether we choose Place Work again or another company, is that we outline all our needs and what we're looking for. And then they can let us know what they can do and how much. And that's why that 150 was Josh's ballpark guess when I just sat down and had a conversation with him.
And I know that, like, you have a close relationship with the school, that it does seem like there's an opportunity for the school to have a voice in this as well, because, like, when they obviously the fields get used a ton by the school, I think there's also, like, there's been conversations of, like, do we want, like a track and a field with a track, right? Like, and certainly something that would be sitting unused if the community wasn't using it a lot at a time. So it does seem like there's an opportunity for continued collaboration on that.
Oh, yes. I sat down with the town administrator maybe less than a year ago, and he had conversations with us about fields behind the parking lot. And if he was able to develop those fields, he would give the rec the Leo Landros fields, and that would relieve a lot of field space for rec programming and the youth association. That would be wonderful, because right now there's an order of who can get the fields at one time. We're very field shy. And we, as we always have, that was identified in the 2004 master plan. But the retrofit did expand us quite a bit, so it did give us another field. We never had B2 before, so.
I just, one more question. The breakdown between capital reserves, enterprise fund, and impact fees, how do we arrive at that?
I arrived at that very cleverly. No, I was looking at, when I did the project for the splash pad, the only capital reserve money I used for that whole Aqualand and the restroom facility, which was also part of the 2004 master plan, was the design element, the architectural piece. I spent about $57,000 on an architectural plan, and the rest was all paid through the enterprise fund and the grant, and some in my fund, my actual working fund that year, for little things here and there. So very proud to be able to say that that majority of that project was not tax-based. And so I just thought, if we're going in that direction, and that seems to be the pattern, allowing the town to look into and pay for the help of the design and the architectural, it just seemed fair. And then the balance of whatever comes out after that is something that we're raising. We have a $1,079,000 in our enterprise fund that I've been raising for the last 4 years, and I'm very proud of that, but I want to use it in the right way, and I want it to be able to also generate more revenue, so we can continue in that path.
What about, do you know how much you have in impact fees?
Yeah, we have,
Those turn into a pumpkin after so long.
we have $36,000 in impact fees and $171,930 in capital reserve.
Any other questions on the feasibility study? Is there a motion?
I move that we allocate $75,000 to the capital reserves fund for a feasibility study to be conducted of recreation department infrastructure needs.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion?
Yes, I didn't hear it, but was there a designation?
No.
There's not a designation actually on the sheet. Oh, there it is down there.
It's, Amy has a necessary.
And
Yeah, if necessary.
We would support that. Or my motion, I would include that in my motion.
Okay, great.
And I'll second that addition.
discussion. I support this. Someone whose child, assume children are going to be use the rec a lot of it, like, it does feel just like sewer is necessary and this is desirable, but I'm going to support this.
Yes.
No more discussion. Vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you so much.
We should be able to vote on the splash pad maintenance money, right?
Oh, yes.
It's just $5,000. You're just putting money away to.
I'm putting money away for the replacement parts. You know, some of those features can cost anywhere between $6,000, $7,000 if one goes down. Also, just in general, we designed it so different pieces could be changed to make it different and new again. They're all omnipods and they can be moved around, so I'm just putting things in there. Plus, you know, it is an filtration system, so mechanical error can happen, and it has.
I'll accept a motion of $5,000 into the capital reserve fund to support Aqualand splash pad maintenance.
With the designation of.
Necessary.
Make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank
Motion
you.
passes 4-0.
Thank you, Amy.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Cemetery trustees waiting.
I still think maybe that pool would be a good idea.
We're used to being patient.
I know. You think the cemetery trustees are the most aware of how limited our time is?
Yeah,
Should we have the cemetery trustees?
yes.
Is that the last one we had?
I think the last one's here. We can talk about how we're gonna handle the rest. So.
Sorry, sorry, is that my?
Yes. Hi, Bart.
Hi, how are you? Who do you represent today?
Michael Provo, I represent the Newmarket Cemetery Trustees. I've been on the board since they formed it, along with Rich Halpern, who's here with me tonight. The last time we asked for funds was about 4 years ago. Just to give you some background, the state of New Hampshire has some really convoluted laws. We have perpetual care funds, which are really great, but according to the laws, it can only be used on the plots that have the perpetual care funds, which means we have to be telling Public Works, well, you can mow this one, but you can't mow that one. You can do this one over here. So basically, a decision was made years ago that, we would give all the interest from the perpetual care funds to Public Works to mow and maintain 3 cemeteries, 2 public and 1 private that was accepted by the town, which was the Wentworth Chaswell one. The 2 public ones are on Great Hill and Riverside. Great Hill is approaching and a little over 300 years old. Riverside is approaching 200 years. They decided that maintenance of the stones and stuff in there should be a capital improvements. So when we come for funds, that's what we're looking for. The last time we looked at also getting some interpretive signage, because people don't really know how important Great Hill is and the people that are there, and also a gate. We have a motion coming before the town council, because we have to apply to them to expend the funds for the interpretive signage finally. And we have someone who's interested in doing a gate. That being said, what we asked for 4 years ago becomes exhausted in that process. Plus, we're victims of Mother Nature. The stones, if there's too much rain, it softens the ground, and if they're tilting, they can topple. Slate stones that you see that start to go this way, there's a root stone underneath, and when the weight gets enough, it just snaps the stone on its own accord. Public Works is not hitting these stones when they're mowing. That's not the issue. The issue is keeping ahead of the game, and there's very few people that work on this that know what they're doing. You can't just go in, shovel around, and straighten up a stone. So just by account, driving around Riverside, we have 23 stones that are down in Riverside, and we have 2 obelisks that are unsteady, which is a public safety hazard. One of them, the top piece, has come loose and has been set down. Great Hill, there's a lot of slate stones, and they're going. The white marble stones that everybody liked are kind of terrible because they put them together with iron pins and they rust. So the minute they start to tilt, they could slide right off. So it's important to keep ahead of this, but we never know how many stones we're going to have to deal with. So the idea is, if we ask for the $10,000, we're not going to be here to see you every year, and the town council will vote to repair the stones. But perpetual care does not pay for the cemeteries. We're also very fortunate. We're not in the position of having to look for land acquisition right now, with the trend towards cremations, and the interments are more that than they are burials nowadays. So we're actually looking more towards a memorial garden area for the cremations. So. And we have revised our prices for interments and lots And we make sure every year we do an annual study of what's Exeter getting, what's this one getting, what's that one's getting, so that we're even. So, I hope that answers any questions anyone may have.
If I could step in, Mike?
Yeah.
Yep, so the committee doesn't have a sheet in front of them. This was, I was talking to Mike Pelzar, he's on the cemeteries committee as well, and he emailed me on a request for $10,000. I'll share that, with you right now.
He's our
So it says,
president.
Yeah, can you see this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it says, hi, Bar, on behalf of the cemetery's trustees, like to request $10,000 for the upcoming budget cycle. Meeting CIP request process. We have some plans in place to repair the fallen monuments in town cemeteries and in the progress of making some signage for cemetery books. So, basically exactly what, building up what Mike Rose says. So, just some context right there for the committee.
And the 25 stones that we just did were over $7,000. So, the other thing is the RSAs, when we become trustees, you swear in, and we're required that cemeteries be maintained and fenced and gated. So technically, somebody complains. I love volunteering for the town, but I'm not going to jail for it.
Quick question.
Yes.
For the grave sites,
Mhm.
or cemeteries, I should say. You said there's 3, correct?
Excuse me?
3 cemeteries?
There are 2 public cemeteries
Right.
in Newmarket. There are, I think, almost 60 private cemeteries.
Okay.
And the town does not maintain private cemeteries. However, some of the private cemeteries have put funds into perpetual care. So we have kind of a fiduciary trust, plus the state law says that we have to keep them fenced and gated. So we've had to replace a fence at the Norton Cemetery. I know right now there's a stone down that needs to be fixed and reset in the Burley Cemetery on Dame Road. Bald Hill Road. So it's really kind of weird the way the
How
laws
many
work.
acres?
The private cemeteries we don't fund. The third one was the Wentworth Cheswell on South Main. That is a private cemetery that the town accepted the maintenance of when the funds that had been used to rebuild it, what remained, were turned over to the town for perpetual care. And it's mainly because of the history there, the visibility, and the fact that there was a good chunk of change coming in for perpetual care. But all of our perpetual care funds go directly to Public Works because it's not enough to pay to mow the cemeteries and stuff.
How
So
many
we have no funding.
So how many acres?
I can't tell you how many acres we have.
Okay, just curious.
I will find out.
No,
I'll get
don't.
you
If
an
you knew
answer
it, that was
you
great.
want.
If you didn't, that's fine.
But that's not on the top of my head.
All right, thank you.
I know that 1860 is when Riverside was formed, and around the late 1700s is when they started at Great Hill.
Okay, thank you.
Are both of those cemeteries active?
Great Hill is closed for burials, except for special exception by the trustees. The reason for that is it was designed for horses and carriages.
Yeah.
You can't get heavy equipment in, and so it makes it very difficult. Plus, back then, the record keeping wasn't so good. So if we started selling graves, we might be selling somebody else's grave.
Right.
So, and it's pretty full, according to what we know. But the possibility of what's in the area we don't know is that there's burials there. because we had a diphtheria epidemic, we had a smallpox epidemic, and we had a typhoid epidemic, and those victims all went to the cemeteries. And back then, they usually did mass graves.
Yep.
So,
Other,
I got one question if I can.
yeah.
Mike, is the committee ever considered building kind of like a place, because cremation is, you know, being used more than burials, kind of like, almost like a mausoleum, where if you wanted to be buried at a cemetery, you kind of put your ashes and just...
It would be wonderful. You want to fund it? It'll be wonderful, but we hesitate asking the town for those funds. That's why we're kind of looking at starting a memorial garden that maybe could be enclosed or something like that. But you're talking about the ones with the little doors and they seal them up, yeah.
Yeah, kind of smaller doors for
Yeah.
cremation.
other discussion?
I think it's a future project, but not right now.
I'm ready to.
$10,000 seems reasonable.
That was a motion.
Your turn,
My turn?
your turn.
I make a motion to allocate $10,000 to capital reserves fund for cemetery maintenance purposes.
Is there a second?
Second, oh, yours.
Any discussion?
Yes, designation.
Designation?
Designation necessary.
Yeah, we have to replace fencing.
Thank you.
Need there.
Now we vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much for coming out.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks for sitting for the whole meeting.
Thanks, Art. Good luck.
Yep. Thank you.
So, Bart, that's all the people we have here today.
Okay, I think we want to maybe discuss the town hall
Oh,
and
yeah.
police department requests, so from the town manager. I know he's not right here, but I know Chief Jordan's here, he can speak to the police department, and I can speak to the town hall.
Where is this one?
Could we talk about,
I think Stu printed it, but I can bring it up on my screen.
That's probably in here. I'm just trying to-
So,
It's under, I think, Department of Planning and Comm Development.
Fire department. I mean, this is the police department.
yeah, we still need your fire department, we still need your my request.
10.5
Last month. I like to get these two out of the way first, because I think the other two will quickly, so. And in library too, we need your library. Okay, so let's go.
This is the police department.
So
Police
Chief Jordan, if you wouldn't mind, do you want to come speak about the police station?
Here you go.
I read it all.
this is the other
Do you need more? There's one of those there.
She's like,
So I just want to make sure that we're clear that I'm not speaking for the town manager. I have some limited information that I can offer to you, but I'll give you whatever I can answer. I just know that the town, with workplace, you heard that they were studying different buildings in town, and they identified both the town hall and the police department as a priority for work to be done, and maybe some expansion or some renovation, and they went through several different projects, and I believe the paperwork that you have in front of you is what they came up with the best that they felt was the most appropriate, that would get us the space we needed and, be financially responsible.
And the way this was proposed to be funded is through bonding and debt servicing. So technically, the capital reserve committee there's no funds, being requested to be put in the capital reserve, but also this is an opportunity to have the project be introduced, if you will, So this isn't anticipated to be put on a warrant article, it's going to be until 2 Marches from now. So, so the same thing with the town hall, and I'll speak to the town hall. Again, I don't speak to the town manager as well. This is just my understanding of the project. Really what the feasibility study tries to achieve is promote customer service, make it more accessible, and also provide a lot more space for administrative support, so the town can be better customer service, and we better utilize that space that we have, and we're not tearing down something and then rebuilding. So the idea is to utilize what the town has, expand upon that, and can go from there. So, the idea is the first level is going to turn to all customer space, and the subsequent levels going up will be more administrative. So the idea of all the parking now, so will be for customer service will be out back instead of out front and back. Because the entranceway will be from what is now the back parking lot, how it's currently proposed. So it'll be a better flow, it's better ADA, more ADA compliant, and it just has a better configuration from a customer standpoint and also town staff standpoint. So that's the idea behind that, those improvements. And then also what Chief George spoke to was the improvements that the police station needs for their operations.
So help me understand the compulsory classification, if it's just for better flow. I mean, I think that sounds necessary, it doesn't sound compulsory to me. Not to put a damper.
So this is borrowing on the part of the town,
Right.
which is a warrant article that's gonna get voted on. Is this even within our scope to be?
It's funny, right? So I would think that as part of a capital improvement plan, this would be like a big piece of that.
Okay.
But again, we're basically at this point serving as the capital reserve fund budgeting tool.
Right.
Like, so, whereas like, I think we definitely should have a conversation about this. I'm not sure right now, as we're focused on funding for next fiscal year, is it, especially given that this is like we looking to bond money in 2 fiscal years, is necessarily like the right use of the time right now.
I mean,
Right,
there's
so
$20
this is the
million.
first time to be introduced to it, so we can have these conversations as you, kind of, you just explained, Phil. And also, like, again, we're planning, not budgeting.
Yeah.
So it's kind of going back to the ethos of what this committee is.
I feel like I would love to dig into these deeply once our budget cycle's done.
Right.
Because right now we're so focused on the next year budget cycle that I don't think at 8:30, at 8:25 at night, we're gonna have the mental capacity to like get into a $20 million bond conversation.
Right.
Plus, there are planning documents that, are at the basis of this that would
Right,
be.
we would need so much more information to even
Right.
discuss this
Right.
than
I-
this.
Yeah, I think as we're refining the plan, not just the funding, but the plan part, like as we talked about before, like how do we integrate this into that?
Ick.
Huh?
Primary sanitary outlet for the building is rotted and leaking into the basement.
Yeah, so, there's been, there's issues with buildings, and we want to, the town wants to reuse them. Again, this is gonna be a couple years down the road, so I think this is, like you said, good opportunity to continue these discussions as we move forward towards those dates. On the merits and, the merits of the request.
Yeah.
I agree. Wait. And I just don't understand compulsory. I just don't get that.
I would love to dig into that, and I know that there's more, because when we had the joint school board town council meeting, we saw more details in this, right?
Right.
It would be great for us just to maybe dig into this once we finish right, Bart, we're on this, obviously a timeline to get the budgetary stuff in for next year. And talking about this
Right.
once we're done that, I feel like we'll have more bandwidth.
I agree.
Yep, I agree as well.
But I totally agree with the concept of we should be talking about this as part of the improvement plan, not just the reserve funding. Barry, you want to talk planning and community development?
Yes, so my request, so this year, let me pull up my, document.
Thank you.
See you guys. Have a good night.
Thanks for staying for that.
Thanks. Thanks, Chip.
Thanks, Chief Jordan.
See you, Bart.
Bye. Here we go, let me share my screen.
One sec, Barry. I was
We-
saying,
we
is
have
there a
to-
reason you're, is there something you need to wait for us to do?
No, not specifically. I was waiting for the discussion
Oh.
on the town hall, and, yeah, you forgot I was here?
Oh, I thought you left, Lindsay. Oh, geez, I'm sorry.
No, it's more curiosity on the process, because I'm new to the town and just
We're new to this process.
learning the whole thing as we're going, so I just wanted
Oh,
to hear it all out.
Yeah. I think so. I'm sorry, Barry. Can you mind?
no,
Yeah.
please finish your thought.
So we have historically, even though we are basically in support of planning for the town, functioned, as you see tonight, as a budgetary body. We recommend budget items to go into capital reserve funds. We are trying to right that ship and get us back into the space of we are part of authoring a larger capital improvement plan, of which the budget is just the operationalization of. We're not there yet. We're in the middle of that. So it seems like the buildings is a good place for us to start that, how is this integrated into a larger plan for the community? And when we think about the needs of the community, there's the needs of these buildings, there's the rec we heard, there's a lot of competing needs, and how do we blend them into what's best for the community in terms of suggested capital improvements? Sorry, I don't know if that was helpful at all.
That is helpful. That all makes sense. Like I said, learning process.
Okay, so,
The
let me
library.
share my, one second. Sophie, you gonna say something?
No, the library's left too, but we can do yours as the master plan. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah,
We have that
mine,
sheet.
that will do the library.
Yeah.
I can speak to that, library as well. So my request is a continuing request. The only difference is, I'm asking for a little more and a little more in the future. As you know, this year, we are starting our update to our 10-year process, our master plan update process. We are utilizing all the funds that are currently in it, so within the 2 years, this will go down to 90,606. We budgeted in a way these next couple of years where I think it's about 20,000 that we're going to use this year. I do have a request in front of the town council to use up to the whole amount through these couple of years. But the way that contract that we have with Stratford Regional Planning Commission is we're going to use some of that portion of that 90,000 this coming fiscal year, and the next fiscal year the rest. So in 2 years' time, this amount will will go down, it will zero out. So in anticipation of that, I'm seeking 17,000, where traditionally I ask for 10,000, just so we have that buffer. And in the case that maybe we need something else throughout this process, that the updating process, maybe more community facilitation, that will cost more money. So I figure this would be a good amount to kind of have that in reserve, just in case we need it for the coming master plan update. And if not, then we're on our way of building up for the next one in 5-10 years' time, most likely 10. So in addition to this 90,000 that we'll be using, I did obtain $25,000 through the Best New Hampshire Hub grant to help us for a housing chapter for the master plan. And also Lindsay Butler and myself also worked on a grant for the community facilities chapter, and we received $35,000 through DES Community Resiliency Grant. So, we were able to supplement the overall update with grant funding. So with that, my overall objective is to get to 150,000. I imagine in 10 years' time, with inflation and other added costs, it's going to cost more. So in addition, more over time. So again, would be following the same process, seeking grant opportunities, but also at the same time funding the capital reserve fund for master plan update. So we're well prepared to update the town's document in a very thoughtful and comprehensive way and engaging way. So that is my request.
Any questions?
And one question, the designation is necessary, should it be compulsory?
Yeah, probably right. I guess the reason why I probably put necessary is that we're about to update it, so it's not as if we need it right now. So that's why I put it as necessary, but I also see your way too, that, the RSAs do say if you have a master plan, you gotta update it, specifically 2 chapters, so, I am very fine with a compulsory designation.
Is there any way we can get a definition section that actually says, this is what desirable is, this is what necessary is,
We have one
compulsory?
Yeah, I agree.
Because I think everyone thinks of it being differently.
Yeah.
I have one from last year's material. I'll find it when I get home.
Okay, I think that would be helpful, just for the people who submit it.
We need like a hand.
It was on our beginning documentation, the letter where the town manager sends us the thing and says, you need to do this, and these are the categories.
Alright.
It's in that document.
And I just think that that would be helpful for everybody,
Yeah.
just kind of when we go through it.
I did send that document, but, again, I'll be sure for every packet that's in there, so
Okay.
just have it as a reference.
All right, thank you.
Other discussion? I'll accept the motion.
I move that we designate, that we meet the request for $17,000 toward town master plan update for fiscal year 24-25
The designation of,
with a designation of compulsory.
is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Library?
Yep, library, so this is similar to the request, last year for our architectural study, so kind of similar to these feasibility studies, that the town is, pursuing in different areas. So, let me pull it up before I continue.
We have it.
Yeah, you have it, okay. Just for our viewers too,
Yeah, sure.
if anyone's watching this, I hope so.
I think we probably lost some,
I think we lost.
half hour ago, but.
All
Maybe
four of us.
TV
This is
tonight.
diehard out there watching this right now.
Library, here we go. Great. Okay. Sure, okay.
So,
So,
why would we
like
be
last
adding
year,
to their
That is what we decided.
library,
$100,000?
can you hear me?
Yeah, hang on a
Yeah.
second, Sue has something, hang on.
Yeah, I have the definitions.
Wow.
Urgent, if the project is required to remedy an existing threat to public health or safety, or is required to rectify grossly inadequate but essential public facilities or services. C, compulsory, if the project is required by statute, law, regulation, contract, or other obligation. N, necessary, if the project is needed to maintain existing standards or levels of service. And D, or desirable, if the project would be beneficial to the community, but is not considered necessary, compulsory, or urgent, or is deferrable. Does that help?
And I'm just using, some of the things that we've put down as compulsory could probably be necessary, right? Based on, legal obligations, public safety,
So we're gonna have to meet again, anyway.
yeah.
When we review the minutes, we can
Yeah.
see if there's things we think that
See if
are off.
you
Yeah.
want-
There we can
Yeah, just if we use that definition, and I think that's helpful.
terms of library, is there a reason why we would need to add to their capital reserve fund if they have $100,000?
So, based on my conversation with the library director, what they're seeking this year is $11,000 for their, be able to do their study, with the idea that coming out of that study, the reserve money of $449 will be used towards the improvements. So they're seeking they're seeking funds into the capital reserve to do this study, while the other portion of the money will be used towards the actual improvements, which would probably cost significant, so based on that. So that's the idea to this request. They have a lot of underutilized space. There's a lot of demand for library services and the programs that they provide. And again, we'll corroborate that through the master plan process, but based on Ms. Cousins' own findings and the feedback she's hearing from the community, there's a real, I would say, desire for improvements at the library. So then again, just to iterate, they're seeking this $11,000 for the study. She has reached out to other communities who have, conducted something similar, but not necessarily the same parameters. And found out this was how much they paid. So the idea is to get the money right now to fund the study, and then use the money right now that's in the capital reserve fund for the actual improvements.
Hey, Bart, in your previous lives, are there companies out there that offer feasibility studies for multitude of things? Because, I mean, we've heard feasibility studies a couple of times today.
And we've already done town one. And
Right, so I mean, is there an ABC company that you could go and approach to do 4 feasibility studies, one for project A, one for project B, one?
Yeah, no, I thought, so I thought it was kind of interesting in Placeworks, what the town hired, the company the town hired to do the town hall, police station, they only specialize in a certain aspect of it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lindsay, if I'm misspeaking, but my understanding is that they do certain aspects of feasibility studies. So it seems like there's different firms that specialize in different types of feasibility studies, architectural or structural, and there's no umbrella corporation that we've found, or at least haven't bid on any projects that the town released requests for.
Well, I can chime in a little on Placework. They are an architectural firm that does primarily buildings and building uses. The library does fall under the type of work that they can do. It wasn't part of the scope of work that we did initially. So it could be added as an amendment for something like that. The rec department is a little different because that's more programming and more social aspects than the general building use and spaces. But there are firms that can do multiple types of buildings and uses like that.
And also the library has a little different structure as well as the trustees
Yes.
do. So that's why I think they were not added to the initial study that the town undertook.
That's a great point.
I thought we funded this last year, no? The library, to do a study on their
That's
basement.
correct. Yep.
So we put money in the capital reserve a year ago to do this very thing?
No, the capital reserve fund, I don't think was funded.
Maybe
put
we
it in.
voted against
We
it.
put it in, but the town council took it out, I
I
think.
mean, it might have gotten out before.
Let me
Okay.
see who was funded, hold on one second.
I-
I have that
It's like
information.
deja vu.
You might too, so.
So, but here's my question. So it didn't get funded. They still have $123,000 in there. Why couldn't they just use that to do the study to then have proof for what they need?
Again, they want to use the money, the actual money that's in the reserve fund for the improvements, so the.
Bart, what I'm saying is,
I think there was an anticipation that the Placework study that was done to, look at all of the town facilities would include the library. The initial scope included the library and the rec department, but it was taken out before, I'm not quite sure how that happened, but that was
Okay.
initially included.
It was included in some of the existing conditions assessment.
Right.
It was not as detailed as would be needed for repurposing a lot of those spaces. The scope of that was focused on the facilities that were kind of identified as higher priority in the list of 7 or 8 facilities that they were looking at.
So, Bart, do we know, and I know we have no access to this, but how much is in their trust fund? Because they, like you mentioned, have another pool of money that we have no.
I'm not sure what's in the trust fund.
They have a pool of money of some level sitting there. They're like, we have no ability to like be like,
You would think they would have figured out how to do this in the last year if it was important.
yeah.
One way or the
And I
other.
support the library. I want them to expand. They got space. It's like, but I just don't understand how the fiscal management here is working. Like if you have the money, you think it's important, even if it was going to be as part of the town one, and then the town said it's not enough, like you got not enough, you're like, let's fund this thing. So we get the proof from the study that we need more funding. And it's a new director though down there, right?
Yes.
Can you ask Bart?
What's that? Jim?
Can you ask them what's their thought process for asking the town for the money as opposed to using what other private funds they may have via the trust?
Or the money already.
Okay,
Or the money that's already there?
Reserve fund.
so trust fund money
To fund this.
compared to town funds, CRF funds.
Yeah, we can't touch it. But they can use it for maintenance. They can use it for
Right.
whatever they want.
Well, I think the question is more, why add money to the capital reserves balance rather than using the existing balance to conduct the study?
Yeah, and why would they have not done that in the last year? Because those funds were
Well,
there.
I think also there's a transition as well, so, in that process, so.
Yeah, leadership transition will have an impact on the organization.
Yep.
And when you said that it could maybe be added to the existing contract, is that still an open contract, or is that the PlaceWorks contract, is that still?
We are just about finished. They finished their final report, so that
Yeah.
hasn't officially been closed out, but it's nearing completion at that point. I say it could be added as an amendment in terms of we could continue working with PlaceWorks, whether it's as an amendment to that or a separate contract that the library has a focus in.
I just want to make sure, it sounds like from this committee, the libraries, from your perspective, correct me if I'm wrong, is they're spending on money, they're not doing anything. Show us the plan.
I mean, there would have to be.
Am I misinterpreting that?
Well, there would need to be a little bit more compelling explanation of why they can't use some of the money they have and why in the last year they didn't do that.
I mean, so I think we asked a similar question of Amy, not why you didn't do it last year, but when I asked about why is the preponderance of this money coming from the capital reserve fund as opposed to impact or the revolve enterprise fund, which is sitting on a decent amount of money,
Right.
but they're talking about major infrastructure builds with that money, and that they don't plan on tapping capital reserve for that, so they're gonna leverage the capital reserve at the front end to get that work done. If there was a similar explanation.
I think I understand, so it sounds like more, you have a lot of, there's enough money to be used to conduct the studies, and once those studies have been conducted, now the real conversation about funding can happen.
Exactly.
Right.
Sure.
Okay, alright. I just wanna make sure I'm communicating,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, are we gonna vote on it, or?
We have to meet at least one more time because of other things.
Yeah,
Why don't
so-
we wait till that?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I would vote against it.
No.
Let's give them a chance to give us information.
I also, I don't know if you want to include that, but the project description to me, speaks to a study that, if the scope includes focus groups and an architectural firm to complete a feasibility study as far regarding the library's basement, I don't think that the amount that would be allocated, well, 11,000 would cover that, especially if you do, focus groups.
Yeah, I think we could also, as we're having our discussion with the master plan update, we can definitely save some costs because we're already utilizing visioning these community engagement opportunities through the master plan update. So there might be some overlap there as well.
I would wholly support that these visioning sessions incorporate all of this,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
In a way that allows us to gather so much community information. Because I'm sure they're hearing from their customer base, hey, we'd love to see this in the library, but what's the community saying, right?
Right.
Same with Amy. I'm sure she hears stuff from her customer base, but that's not the whole community. That's a piece of the community.
So it sounded like it was good feedback because one, it might be an opportunity to save some money this year through the master plan update process for the library. Meanwhile, there's community feedback, as you just mentioned, Phil, to really understand how the community feels about the library, the whole community, not just the patrons. And then from there, there's enough money in capital reserve fund, it appears, for based on what's being requested right now, to engage with the architect to do that study.
Right.
Can we talk about fire before we're done?
We do have fire alarms, yes.
So are you is the committee gonna vote on this one, or you wanna wait?
Can we just give them the opportunity to give more information?
Right.
Okay.
I just
Otherwise-
if there's a reason why they're we can't use this because blah blah blah. Amy had the chance to answer that question. I think they should have the opportunity to answer it.
Yep. Great. So we'll add that.
Fire. Rich
Fire.
wants to-
So in questioning the town manager last year regarding leases and the whole idea of using capital reserves for leases, his response was that this was going to become like the police cars put into the operating budget. That's what he said. So I guess I don't understand why we wouldn't be just draining the capital reserve for the next year and a half.
Yep.
And not contributing more money to it, given that that was his
directive.
response to how he wants to fund this in the future, unless he's changed his mind.
So I could follow up with Rick and the town manager on that.
I think there's an email I sent you guys last year with the actual
Yeah.
Yep.
minutes of that discussion.
Because we actually spent quite a bit of time going back and forth on that, if I remember correctly.
It's been an issue for a few years.
Yep.
Because I think the budget committee wasn't comfortable with this whole lease arrangement. It seemed like kind of an avoidance of using, capital reserve strategy to save up money for fire vehicles.
Yep.
It was like an avoidance. And so his thing was, okay, we're gonna kind of continue to fund them that way, great. Make it part of the operating budget, great. Makes sense, it's how we do police cars.
Right.
If we weren't leasing them and we're saving up to buy the $450,000, that's different. Or they're more than that.
Yep, I agree.
$1
I agree.
They are. So we should ask that question.
Okay. Great. So for next meeting, I have fire department's request DPW for sidewalks and their equipment and vehicles, and then the library.
Yep. And do we have a date? Do we know?
There was no date, but it has to be before Friday.
It has to be before this Friday.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's going to be a challenge for me.
Again, because of arbitrary dates that we make up for ourselves, not us, but the town.
Right.
I will not be.
Tomorrow can't because plan board meeting unless you're comfortable, and I'm not sure if you're given the response time.
There wouldn't be
I
enough
have
time.
emails.
Thursday's the
only,
only day I can do it.
and I may not be there, just FYI. So, but I'll do my best to facilitate the meeting, setting up the meeting, getting information in. Conservation, meeting with the
Thursday,
Thursday at 7.
Yeah,
Thursday's what?
They
Thursday
meet
at
at
7.
Thursday at 7.
At
So
7, I
look
don't
at the
know.
calendar.
I cannot meet on any of these days, coming days,
So,
at least not at night.
so that's a good point. So, so tomorrow, you know, if we could do it tomorrow, we just have to do it before 7 p.m. And Friday, you know, Thursday, what about Wednesday? What people's Wednesday look like?
I can't do it Wednesday.
Tuesday, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Tuesday
That's hard.
or
No.
It's tomorrow.
Too
No.
early?
Yeah, that's too early.
Okay.
what about the 13th, Wednesday?
I can't do Wednesday.
Me
I
neither.
could do tomorrow, I could do Thursday. Can't do Wednesday.
I could do Thursday, but couldn't do it until 7. I could do Friday, like, during
Well,
the
we
day.
can do, so we do have the ability to do, you know, Concom meets downstairs, we can do upstairs on Thursday.
Yeah,
But it's at 7.
I cannot meet on Thursday. I'm not in town.
But how many do we need for a quorum? 3?
4.
4?
We need, yes, we need 4.
There's only 4 of us on. Who's the alternate for the council?
Oh, because we don't have alternates, it's two.
It's Colin, yes, White is council alternate,
2 members at large we don't have, right?
that's right.
But is it a quorum of if the body was wholly constituted, or quorum of the body as it stands now? In which
So it
case,
says, let me look at the rules and regs.
I thought it was okay to have 3. I can't-
Yeah, that was how it was, there was that discussion, and then, but I guess we don't have a full board, so I guess 3 would work.
I mean,
Even though the rules
we
and
are
regs
all
for
here
CIP
right
stuff,
now. We
we
are
are,
This is
but
everybody.
That's assuming that's a full board.
So the only thing we haven't done is we didn't vote on the DPW stuff because we don't have the information.
Yeah.
I mean, we can vote, I don't want to be a cynic here, but we can vote no. I mean, the town manager's going to do whatever he wants anyhow.
Valid point.
For lack of information.
For lack of information.
Yeah, you could do that for,
I'd vote no for the library. I'm just saying, the town
Yeah.
council and the town manager, like, our votes weren't even recorded anywhere
Yeah,
last
they
year.
can do what they want.
So, we could finish it up.
So could we vote, are people comfortable with, we vote it down and say why,
I would,
and like hopefully before it goes to the town manager and
they can
the
get the,
council,
they can get
Right.
the needed
they're looking
information.
at like actual information on those ones.
so we vote no for DPW because we just don't have the information. I'd vote no for the library because I think they have the money. I'd vote no for the fire department because I think that
We were told that that's not the way
advised that they would take
funding
a
would
different approach to that.
I'm gonna guess that information just wasn't communicated to the fire department, and that's why it wasn't in.
Rick is.
And anything that you vote no for, you know, you also have an explanation sheet with the document that's presented to the town manager. So, you know, when we're creating the CIP document, in there can be an explanation of the votes as well. If you want.
Alright, we know how Rich feels.
But I'm happy to come back. I can come back Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday morning.
What he says makes sense, though.
I don't know that we're gonna know a whole lot more in a day from now.
I mean, tomorrow isn't enough time for them to get the
No.
information together. And honestly, I don't know what Rick's days look like. That's like a lot of administrative work to put that. But
I wouldn't want to vote no on the grounds that the, recommendation is not, taken as important in the subsequent steps of the process. Because then I would feel like we've just wasted a whole bunch of time and other people's time. So but I do see the point of, if we have to do this before the 15th, then there's no real way to get together, or it would be very difficult, especially with the additional information that we're seeking.
I mean,
And that would be a way out.
what if we put our current recommendations forward and say, like, the 15th is somewhat arbitrary, right? What, is that for Steve to put his together by October 1st for the council? Or,
I think it's before I think it's like the 15th or something. But it's like a month before he needs to submit it to council.
No.
So I need to have it to him by the 15th of September.
so, here's my question, is he gonna be doing it, well, no, Monday's a bad day. Well, I know, Monday's now.
I mean, maybe
What
we
about
can
next
ask him
Monday?
for more time.
I mean, is he gonna do anything, literally?
No.
If you give it to him at the end of the day on Friday.
I need to get it to him by the 15th. It's a hard,
But that's a hard number for him, it's not a practical number for us, though. If we give it to
Yeah, I
him,
like-
yeah, no,
Well, we can provide what has been accomplished.
Yeah.
The rest could simply, I mean, if you lack information, I wouldn't want to vote no just because of lack of
Yeah,
information.
I get that. We could abstain.
Yeah, I think that's a better tack. More comfortable anyways,
Oh, if what?
to not
we
vote no.
can't vote on these.
Right,
We
yeah.
abstain
Essentially
from them
abstaining,
for lack of
If we don't have
information.
enough information.
I would vote no in the fire department.
Well,
I think
particularly
I'd
because
be
of the
fine.
directive we were given,
We were told,
right.
I think the library has adequate money.
Right, so
is
we
there
have the
any-
library,
We should have.
we have the fire
information
department.
that we could vote in the library. If you want to vote yes, fine.
Yeah,
So just quickly though, we have the library, we have the fire department.
yeah,
What's the other one?
DPW.
WW.
yes,
And
sidewalks,
we voted on part of
expansion
DPW.
and
Right,
equipment.
So we voted on the bridge.
It's the vehicles that.
right.
We didn't vote on the vehicles, and
Yeah.
we didn't vote on the sidewalks.
Yeah, correct.
Right.
All right, so I make a motion that we vote unable to make a decision because of a lack of information regarding the vehicles for the DPW and the sidewalks.
That we would have to, can we-
Unless we get an extension until next Tuesday, our thing is we can't vote because we weren't given the information.
What do you think, Mark?
Let me just see what the rules say.
Because I don't want to take away from the folks that did come,
Yeah,
and, they sat there collectively as a group, supporting each other. I thought that was very impressive.
Yes, I did too.
But-
Can anyone meet Friday during the day?
I can.
I don't know.
It would have to be after like 10:30 in the morning.
You like Friday afternoon, or like early afternoon, like right before?
Yeah, I could do that.
We would need one more. I need a quorum to do virtual. Man, I would do it.
It would be much easier if it were next Monday.
Right. I mean, Steve just has to understand, there's
He's not
only so
building
many
the
hours
budget
in
on
the
this
day.
weekend.
Right,
You know what I mean?
Well, he may, but
he's not gonna.
still, I mean, we're still in the same position, whether that's,
Right.
the intent
If we
or
can
not.
get together on Monday, and we give it to him, Bart gives it to him sometime on Tuesday, I don't think that's going to change.
I'm fine reaching out to Steve as the chair. Bart, if you're cool with me doing that, I know you work on that, and be like, hey, look, Bart's gonna give you everything we have, except for these four, and we have to meet Monday to get it, because we're waiting for more information.
Yeah, I mean, you can reach out, Karen, I'm fine with that.
I don't wanna put you in a weird
I'll
position,
update
Bart.
them.
I don't wanna put you in a weird position, because I know you work for the man, but I also man, twisting pretzels around schedules for literally one workday difference. I'll take
And then
it.
also,
All right. You got it then, right?
we have to schedule a meeting for the school district too, but that can be later than the 15th.
And the district, just so you know, is complete. So,
Okay, great, thank you.
Right then, so you're gonna get in touch with Steve,
I'll reach out to Steve, I'll
right,
reach
and
out to
then
him. And
you let
be
us
like,
know.
Bart, can you get him everything we voted on today, just so like you're like at the 95% completion for him?
Yeah, I have to put the whole document together and everything. I can have everything in by that deadline. It's just, there's other, you know, I have to do a little more for the final document to get to him.
Got it.
Just administrative work. So I'll have that in by the 15th. If we can't meet before then, so here's the scenario. If we can't, if he says no, then, you know, I think, you know, then they're just not answering the request, so.
Hey, what happens if we don't answer a request?
He doesn't get the recommendation from the CIP committee.
Yeah.
And they do what they want anyway.
Yeah, I don't want us to be like not taken seriously as we're trying to be more serious. about
Right,
the
exactly
issue,
right, I agree. But we can't meet an unrealistic date and be serious.
Yeah, I mean, some of it was on our scheduling too, right?
Right.
Like, and myself included, so, but we're here now. We're gonna deal with the world as it is, not as we wish it to be.
Right.
Well, there is a motion on the floor.
What was the motion?
Mine,
Jane, unable to make a determination on the vehicles, the DPW vehicles and the sidewalk.
why don't I withdraw it?
Yeah,
Then nothing.
I'll withdraw it.
I will convey that information to Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Bart, do you want me to CC you if I write him an email? Or do you want to be out of it?
Yeah,
I want to know, you want possible deniability and be out of it, or you want?
yeah, it's true, so, so ideally, I understand it's uncomfortable, but a vote would be, tonight would be best. But I understand also the point of view that you want to give the opportunities for people to respond to comments that are not here this evening.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise we'll be making a vote on incomplete information, which is gonna force our hands. And it might be unfair to those departments.
Right.
So if we do get more time, we could meet Monday?
That could be Monday.
I could be Monday.
Yeah, I can meet Monday.
I can meet Monday as well.
Yeah, so that seems like a pretty reasonable.
I think so.
You were gonna say something about, I felt like,
I was, but I think it's just further complicating things,
okay.
not serving our needs right now either.
All right, we recognize that if we adjourn now, though, it does run the risk of Steve drawing a hard line and be like, nope, it has to be in which case those will all go in without our recommendation.
Right.
Well, but
Here's maybe, could we make a motion that if we're not given the extension, they'll be recorded, just so it's on the record, they'll be recorded as not recommended by the committee.
Yeah, I like that.
That way, if they're like, no way, Bart's covered,
yeah,
looking out for you, man. Thanks, so that, like, he can get his document into his boss on time, and, like, and the recommendation would include the why, because the incomplete information. Correct,
Yes.
Bart?
Yes,
That's what we
so,
need.
you know, I agree with that approach. Recommendation is insufficient information if it's not extended.
So we get to the de facto.
So the motion on the table, that needs to be
I
rescinded.
think we have enough info to vote on
She
the fire in
rescinded
the
it.
library, but.
Jane.
Thank you, so,
So, new
I mean, I
motion.
guess that is true for the fire department, for sure.
I could, the library, I want to give them the opportunity to get more
I
information,
do
but the fire vehicles, I think I have enough information to vote that one down. Because that's, like, we were told, they're gonna stop putting it in the CIP, and now they're still putting it in the CIP.
Yep. So are we saying now that for the fire department,
Just for the fire vehicles.
the vehicles,
I'm sorry, yeah, the fire vehicles.
That's the
The
only thing that's
DPW
here, right?
vehicles is the one that we're waiting, we would need more information on.
Right, so the only thing in fire is the vehicles.
Yeah.
right.
And, you know, it's ongoing capital improvement requests.
There's no other equipment, the fire department usually has other equipment in there.
normally it's masks and
Masks, like
everything.
all that stuff.
Fire safety does that every year.
It's just vehicles in
all that's there.
So it's just vehicles and, okay,
Now, they have 86 grand in there, so
so maybe they don't need
maybe
it.
they are using that money for other things that wouldn't be here, I don't know.
Yeah. Someone want to make a motion on the fire department or no?
I don't, because I wasn't here last year.
Yeah.
I'm gonna defer.
It would be better if we asked the question and got an answer,
So let's ask the question. I will accept a motion that if we are not allowed Jiminy Christmas, that's what Paris version. But I like,
If the extension is not granted.
if the extension is not granted, that it will be recorded as not recommending the requests for fire department, the DPW vehicles,
In the library.
and the library,
and the DPW sidewalk.
and the DPW sidewalks.
I would make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hopefully we will be able to meet and to be a move
We're all available Monday, so we'll let him know that.
Monday at the same time.
Yeah,
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Next meeting might be next Monday at 6. Otherwise, TBD.
good job with all this part, putting
Yeah,
this
Bart,
together.
thanks,
Yeah, good job.
especially with everything else going on in your life right now.
Thank you. Great job committee. Good work tonight. I know you guys put in the midnight oil, so we're close to it, so thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I'll accept a motion to adjourn at 9:05.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.